Hi, thanks for joining us on WF1 News 2's Facebook page. Right now, we want to bring you some breaking news in Greensboro. There are several groups of demonstrators around the city of Greensboro, and there are some interesting developments you need to know about tonight. First off, Interstate 40 is back open now after being shut down in both directions at Gate City Boulevard. The protesters actually walked over the bridge and then down onto the highway at some points, forcing police to shut down that traffic. We are also hearing of a large gathering right now in downtown around the courthouse and around the Civil Rights Center. We are getting some reports of possible damage in the area. Right now, we do not have that confirmed. We do have crews on the way to that scene trying to make it through the protest to see where we were told the damage was to confirm if it's true or not. As soon as we get that information, we will let you know. But right now, what we need to do is to show you the big headache tonight from all of this for people driving in traffic. It was gridlock today in Greensboro as I-40 was basically shut down in both directions. Denise McMiller is out there right now where it is just reopening. Denise, what did you see?
Well, just 10 minutes ago, I-40 looked nothing like this. There were protesters standing along this bridge as well as underneath the bridge. And Greensboro police were down here as well, blocking off the road so that they could do so. And they've been following them around throughout the day. This started out at noon. They were starting out at the Greensboro Civil Rights Museum, where there were only about 4 or 5 people. That number continued to grow throughout the day. And they made their way from the Civil Rights Museum all the way down Gate City Boulevard, and again, like I said, then they made their way here to Gate City Boulevard and I-40. Again, they had this bridge blocked off so that folks could stand on this bridge to protest in honor of George Floyd. This has been going on throughout the day. Again, like I said, it started at noon, and this is a picture from what it looked like 10 minutes ago. A much different scene from what it is right now. And again, there's still traffic out here because protesters are still making their way up Gate City Boulevard. So if you are driving down this road, you should expect to run into some traffic because the protesters are making their way, again, like I said, back up Gate City. And this has been a very long day. I spoke to the organizer, and he says that their main mission is to come together, to bring folks together. He wants to make sure that folks aren't using this as a ploy for social media, but to continue to understand the mission, and that is to bring the community together for George Floyd and to remember that we need to come together to make a change. I also spoke to the Greensboro Police Department. They said that their goal is to make sure that these protesters are safe. That is why they are staying with them as they move from downtown to Gate City Boulevard and other areas throughout the city. I've seen them on their bikes. I've seen them blocking off roads for them throughout the day. They said that their goal is to make sure that they protest safely and to keep counter-protesters from intervening. So that is what they'll be doing throughout the night. It's going to be a long night. We're hearing that they're making their way back downtown, so we're going to continue to follow them down there as well. Again, organizers say that their goal is to keep this as a peaceful protest for as long as they can throughout the night as well. Of course, we'll continue to bring you updates as we get them.
Stand by for just a second. I want to get people caught up if you are just now joining us again. Again, breaking tonight, Interstate I-40 was closed in both directions. You can see it's open right now, but it was closed earlier when demonstrators did make their way in Greensboro onto the interstate. Denise, you actually saw people like walking down the highway?
Yes, people were walking down the highway. People were on the interstate. This bridge right here, you can see hundreds of people on this bridge right here, and underneath as well. They were walking along the highway, and it was perfectly fine because the Greensboro Police Department, they actually had the ramp to the interstate blocked off. They had the ramp to the interstate blocked off so that these protesters could gather on this bridge, and they were here for we are hearing they were there for at least an hour or so as well. And this is what it looked like I said, just about 10 minutes or so ago. You can see folks walking along, like I said, along the interstate, also on the bridge as well. High police presence was here earlier as well to make sure that those protesters were safe as they continue to march throughout the city.
Denise, lots of people, it sounds like, are driving pretty fast trying to make up for that time they were stuck in traffic there. It's really loud. I do want to point out for all the people on Facebook Live right now that there's a whole lot of comments about vandalism going on. We do not have that confirmed at this point. We have gotten a couple of reports of it, but our crews are on the way to those locations right now. You know, it takes a lot of time to get through that protest, to get to the other side, to be able to see if something was vandalized or not. All right, Denise, thank you so much. Please stand by. Right now, we're going to go over to Jess Winters, who is downtown with a big group that's assembling there.
Hi, Ben. Good evening to you. Yes, I've been following these protesters all evening since around 5 p.m. Momentarily, honestly, just 2 minutes ago, we were at the Guilford County Courthouse. We were right on those steps where a group gathered. They were on the steps with their signs, and they had several chants going. One of them was, "Say my name, George Floyd. What do we want? Justice." And then, of course, we've heard the chant Black Lives Matter consistently throughout the night. We've been making a lot of headway in terms of miles. We've gone throughout downtown probably twice at this point, and earlier we were further from downtown. We were on Josephine Boyd Street, and we were on Westgate City Boulevard. I imagine we had walked about a mile at that point. We walked for about an hour, hour and a half. And now this is the second wave of marchers for the night that started at around 8 p.m. And they started at the police station, Greensboro Police, and then made their way over to the corner of Friendly and Davie Street. And then from then on, we've been walking in loops. There have been consistent chants, all peaceful. This has been a peaceful night. We see Greensboro Police. You can see their flashing lights now that the night sky is up. And they have been trailing behind on their bikes as well, several of them in groups at a time. There has been some foul language exchange between police officers and protesters, but this has been nonviolent overall. Again, we've been following this all day. You just heard from Denise McMiller, who's been out here for even longer, since 1 p.m., where the original protest started in front of police headquarters. At that point in time, it was peaceful as well. There was chalk, that's not what I want to say, spray paint that said "No justice, no peace," as they are chanting as we speak. But nothing has turned violent. We did hear reports of property damage, but I just got off the phone with Greensboro Police, and they said to their knowledge nothing has been damaged to this point. We're walking in the middle of the streets, and I do want to mention that permits were obtained to march today. 2 permits were obtained for the earlier march and now for this evening march. And so earlier, just to give you some sights and sounds and the scope of what's been going on, we've been walking alongside them. A lot of people are wearing masks because we are in the middle of a global pandemic still. And people have been handing out water bottles for free. A lot of the organizers will pause for a moment, take a breath, and have been making speeches that this is all about love, unity, coming together to stand against injustices and fight for equality in the wake of the death of George Floyd earlier this week. But this has remained peaceful. Now, if I had to guess, the group in front of us is about 100, 150 people. That's been on par with the amount of protesters we had earlier today. People are coming and going constantly. And we've been split up into separate groups. We're hearing that there's another group closer to the Civil Rights Center and Museum. I have not seen them yet, but we are getting closer to Elm Street. So perhaps when we get closer, and we also have another team on the way. WFMY News 2's Adoria Chumba is headed here as well to give another update, and just so we can cover all angles of this protest, because it's taken over Greensboro today. Now, I know a lot of you have ingrained in your brain those protests we've seen play out across the nation, those fiery scenes, the violence. That is not what's happening tonight here in Greensboro. It has not happened in Greensboro. Yes. WFMY. So there has been some foul language, and I'm so sorry for that. If you are watching, there could be explicit language tonight. I do want to warn you. And we can't help it. This isn't edited. This is a live feed. So if you feel uncomfortable at any time, feel free to X out. These are impassioned protests, and there's nothing we can do about it on a live feed. Now, we're keeping a safe distance just because we are in the middle of a global pandemic, and also for safety reasons. So, well, I'm going to toss it back to you, Ben, and we'll have another update shortly as we head toward Elm.
Jessica, I do want you to stay safe out there. We do have security with our teams out there because you just never know where these are headed based on what we've seen in other parts of the country so far. Again, right now, you just heard Jess say it has been a peaceful protest. We have been getting reports of vandalism, but those are not confirmed yet. We are trying to work hard to see if that is true. We will get you that information as soon as we can. But hey, if you are just now joining us, let me get you caught up to speed here. What is going on right now is that the demonstrators from earlier today in Greensboro have split off into a couple of different groups here. We have one group you just saw with Jess who's walking, it looks like down by the train tracks, kind of like over by the arcade place downtown and in that area right there. We also have another group who is on the other side of downtown over by the Civil Rights Center. And we have a group who was earlier by Interstate 40, where it was actually closed off in both directions for a while to traffic because people sat right down in the middle of the highway. Police had no choice but to close it off for their safety and the safety of drivers. It is back open right now. We saw it with Ice Denise, but this protest, this demonstration, it is ongoing and it appears to be growing. Let's take a live picture right now of what it looks like in Greensboro. This again is one of the several factions. One thing I've noticed from watching these live pictures is that there's not one demographic here of people who have shown up. We have people of all races, all ages. It looks like people of all walks of life coming together to demonstrate here in Greensboro tonight. You just heard Jess say it has been pretty peaceful. I want you to look right here. You can see it on the right there. There is someone on a bicycle. We've also seen a lot of police officers on their bicycles riding along with the crowd. That is not to control them, according to police. It is just to make sure that they are safe because they do have permits to be in the downtown area. Now, we are working to find out what the situation was with I-40, how they crossed over to that. We have Denise over that way, and we're going to bring in much more with her tonight at 11 about how that happened. What you need to know right now is that this is still a very active scene in Greensboro, not only in downtown, but the areas right around it. As a matter of fact, you are being told by some of our city leaders that it is best, if possible, to stay out of that area unless you want to be part of the demonstration for right now. Not to say that it is unsafe, but they just want to be able to focus on just that and take care of the demonstration and make sure that their voices are heard in a safe way. I want to look at some of the comments right now, see if you have any questions about what's going on. We do have teams all across Greensboro tonight, and they are there for you to answer your questions. Also, if you are on the ground somewhere, what are you seeing? Comment for us, let us know, because that's the best thing about Facebook and social media is that we can hear from all over the Triad and have crews everywhere, you guys, where you are, and we want to know what you've seen today too. So looking through some of these comments, it looks like we are seeing a lot of people talk about if this is peaceful still. I want to repeat what Jess said earlier. This started earlier in the day. It was in the afternoon. All afternoon, it was very peaceful. As a matter of fact, we showed you at 6 o'clock a video of the demonstrators talking with those people, the police officers who were there to help them, help guide them and make sure that they stayed safe. They were friendly, they were laughing together. There are a couple of people, according to Jess, though, who did curse at the police officers when they were told not to do certain things. But she says beyond that, it has been very peaceful and calm out there. Again, we are getting some reports that that might be changing. We do have crews on the way to those scenes right now. As soon as we get that information, we will bring it to you right here on Facebook. So I want to show you a little bit about the context of what brought this all out here today. These protests have been going on for hours. That is because of this picture right here. It is heartbreaking. We are not showing you the video anymore because everyone knows what this is about at this point. A police officer in Minneapolis held his knee on the neck of George Floyd while arresting him on suspicion of writing a bad check, a really small infraction there. Video shows the officer left his knee there for almost 9 minutes. 3 minutes of that, Floyd was unconscious. Before that, the video shows him saying, "I can't breathe." Floyd died. That officer is out of the job, facing criminal charges, and today we also learned that his wife is filing for divorce. So that brings us to the movements today. The Triad marches are part of a national movement. Look at this: Seattle, LA, Minneapolis, Dallas, Atlanta, New York City. Those are just a few because honestly, we didn't have enough room on the screen to put all the cities where this is happening in. It's happening in almost every state of the union today, and thousands are gathering in most of America's large cities. I will say that in most of the large cities, they've been kind of a different demonstration than what we've seen here in the Triad. Again, Jess said it's been peaceful today. Itanese said even though they shut down the highway, it was pretty calm there too. In these larger cities, who are causing damage. Take a look at this. If you're just joining us, this is what I-40 looked like about an hour and a half ago here. It was the people on top, but after that picture was taken, some of those people actually went down underneath that bridge and they sat down right on that street, causing police to have to close down I-40 in both directions. We heard from some people on social media who said their gridlock was like 30 minutes waiting for this to clear up. That is part of the message here of what this group is trying to get across. They want to say that something has to change. That is why they have to disrupt our society to get attention like this. You know, there is this picture we're going to show you tonight at 11 from South Carolina of people burning police cars. We'll get to that in a second, but first I want to show you the video here. You can see those people down below this. And as you watch this and hear about I-40 that when it was closed earlier, I want to bring you back to that South Carolina moment because it was really a hit home moment for me. So they're burning police cars in South Carolina and a reporter asked them, why? Why do you have to destroy things to get your point across? And this woman, nearly at the verge of tears, says, it's the only way that we get attention. She says that she feels like law enforcement doesn't care about her, doesn't care about her race, that someone from law enforcement came out to talk to them when they were protesting peacefully, and they had a drink in their hands and some McDonald's and barely paid attention to them. She said it was heartbreaking, and that's why down there they decided to get violent, to get destructive in South Carolina. Here in Greensboro, we are seeing the police work hand in hand with these protesters, really caring about what they have to say, or at least that's the way it appears. Because so far today, the police have been there to protect the protesters and make sure that they are safe as they are doing this, not to stop them. That's why they even shut down I-40, to protect those protesters, make sure they don't get hit by a car. And I will tell you, this is one of the things I love about living in the Triad, is that we have this ability here to try and understand what the other side of the argument is and to want to hear that person out. We have another look for you downtown here of right now. I want to show you, we're having some video issues. Oh, there you go, we've got it. As you imagine, technology is really crazy right now. This is live around Natty Greens. This crowd is a different group than what we saw a little bit earlier, another part of the demonstration. You can see they're packed in pretty tight there. We did have some concern earlier about coronavirus and that going on. Lots of people commenting about why aren't they wearing masks. You'll see some people are. Again, we also saw someone hold a sign up during the 6 o'clock news today that said racism is the real virus, the one we need to worry about now. So you are seeing they are gathering in the middle of the street there. This is not them taking over the street like what happened at I-40. This right here is part of what the permit allowed them to do tonight, the permit that they got from the city. You can see people are not rioting in Greensboro. What they are doing is sitting around, talking, listening to speakers, trying to make their voice heard. There's a speaker right there. You can see that they are trying to figure out how they can make a change. And if that changes, if it becomes violent or destructive, of course, we will bring that information to you as soon as it happens. But right now, our crews say there's no reason to think that that's actually going to happen. I want to look at your comments again while you just watch this live picture for a second. Also, I have to warn you that you might hear some curse words here and there because this is a protest and it is live, and I'm sorry we can't edit it because we want to show you what's really happening on the ground. So let me look at your comments here for just a second while we listen in. Okay, if you're just now joining us, this is a live picture from downtown Greensboro of one of a few groups of demonstrators out tonight. They've split off from the earlier group that marched through downtown in solidarity. Now we are seeing a couple of different protests. This one is around Natty Greens. You can see more people are coming out by the moment. This thing is not dying down, it is growing right now. We have crews all around Greensboro, and they're telling us right now it appears to be totally peaceful and civil. I want to read this comment from Jack. I think you hit the nail on the head here. Jack, you said, "I am very proud to call the city of Greensboro my home. This has been a perfect example of a peaceful protest, protesters and police officers cooperating." You are right on the money there, Jack, from what we have seen today, because the police have been walking side by side with these protesters, not telling them what they can and can't do, but to be there to protect them and make sure that their voices are heard and that the police who are right there by the side hear their voices. Hey, right now you're seeing people handing out water to the demonstrators. Not only have we seen these groups gather, we have also seen a lot of people coming down to support them. People who might not originally have been interested in the cause, but they're there to hand out water. We've seen people bring food to the demonstrators. People who want to support this effort and this movement for change, because after this week, a whole lot of people feel we need it. Again, we have crews all over the triad here. We're going to try to get to one of our reporters here in a minute. Again, technology is really crazy right now as you're walking down these streets. Look, we got Jess right there. Jess, what are you seeing down there on the streets?
Hi, Ben. Good evening once again. We are coming to you live from Elm Street. We were just on the corner of McGee as well. A train was coming through and making a lot of noise, so we started mobilizing once again. But I do want to go back to the moment we were in front of the Guilford County Courthouse that I was explaining about 5 minutes ago, because when we landed at the Guilford County Courthouse, everyone kind of crowded around the steps, and there were some speakers who stood up holding signs, and they read aloud the names of people who they believe were killed out of inequality. Their lives were taken too soon, and then they focused in on George Floyd. And if you have been reading all the reports out of Minneapolis, if you've been reading our reports here at WFMY News 2, you know that he was restrained for 9 minutes. 3 minutes of those, prosecutors say he was unconscious. So they took 9 minutes. That's how long that police officer's knee was on his neck. They took 9 minutes. They put their arms in the air and they stayed silent. It wasn't a moment of silence. It was 9 minutes of silence. Now I want to show you what 9 seconds of silence is, and you tell me if it's a long time. What do you think? So we did that for 9 minutes. Picture that in minutes, not just seconds. And everyone just stood there and they looked at each other. They looked at each other's signs. It was peaceful, it was calm, it was silent. But then we started mobilizing again, and the chants have started again. The normal ones we've been hearing all day, that Black Lives Matter, no justice, no peace, no racist police, and don't shoot. One of the main ones this evening has been, I can't breathe, which we know George Floyd repeatedly said on May 25th. Now we're moving closer to the Civil Rights Center and Museum as we're walking along Elm Street, and we've heard varying reports, so once I get there, I'll tell you what's going on there, because I don't want to assume anything or go off any information that's unconfirmed. But we're heading that way right now. And we also have another news crew, WFMY News 2's Adoria Chumba, headed that way as well. And as we're moving, the crowd is pretty silent. I don't hear any chants as we're walking. But there are a lot of people out here, and I can tell you it's a lot of new faces. This is not the same exact crowd that was out here at 1 p.m. protesting when we were on Westgate City Boulevard. This is not the same crowd. This is a renewed crowd. Permits have been obtained in order to march down these streets. Police are blocking off certain intersections. They have blockades up. You maybe can see the reflection of their police lights, and are aware that people are in the streets. They've sent out several traffic advisories for not only this area, but of course we know I-40. You've heard Denise McMiller's report that people were lined up on I-40, blocking it both directions. So we're approaching some police right here. Also, police have been on their bikes, and they've been trailing behind the crowds. You can see an officer right here. They're remaining diligent and alert and watching passerbyers. And I did see Sheriff Danny Rogers with the Guilford County Sheriff's Office. He came out of the office and he was saying hello and shaking hands with some of the marchers out here. That was about 10 minutes ago when we were closer to the Guilford County Courthouse. But I didn't get a chance to speak with Sheriff Rogers because he was speaking to many of the protesters and having conversations. So, Sean, if you want to pan over, because this is just such an unusual sight, just seeing a flood of people in the middle of the street in downtown Greensboro. This is unlike anything I've ever seen. And it's not lost on me the meeting that we're headed toward, the International Civil Rights Center and Museum that was formerly Woolworth. If you know the history of the Greensboro sit-in, February 1st, 1960. That is not lost on me, and I hope it's not lost on you either. Okay, we're continuing to follow them. We're walking by, if you're familiar with the downtown area, we are walking by Crafted as we speak. The crowd has seemed to have gotten larger since you last checked in about 15 minutes ago. If I had to estimate, I would say 200 people are out here walking the streets and the sidewalks of downtown Greensboro. A sight that I have never seen, and to be truthful with you, I haven't seen this amount of people in quite some time since the global pandemic and social distancing ensued for the past 2.5, 3 months. But a lot of people out here do have masks on. Many people have masks on. Okay, here we are, the International Civil Rights Center and Museum. And it looks like we're pausing here. Many people are stopping right in front. Some are sitting on the ground, taking a break. I do see caution tape. Sean, do you see that? Sean, do you see the caution tape on one of the windows at the Civil Rights Center and Museum? We're trying to get closer for you folks. Someone is screaming, "We did not do this. We've been out here since noon." We did not do this. We've been out here since noon. That is the phrase that I'm hearing. I'm hearing an impassioned plea saying, our people did not do this. I do have a call-in with the Greensboro Police to see if they have any information on this. It does appear that one of the windows of the Civil Rights Center and Museum is taped off, and there is caution tape, and there's writing on it that says shattered glass. Someone wrote shattered glass on the taped up window. This is developing as we speak. I'm seeing this for the first time just as you are.
Here, I want to point out here that because of coronavirus, we are still trying to keep our crews back from the large crowds. That is why we're not getting up close to that video. Jess is doing exactly what she's supposed to do. She's trying to stay safe and bring you the story at the same time. So, if you're just now joining us, we have confirmation that the windows did get broken, at least one window it looks like, at the International Civil Rights Center in Greensboro. But there's a lot of debate over how it happened right now. There's a crowd sitting out front saying they did not do this. On Twitter, I'm seeing lots of people saying it wasn't us, it wasn't the demonstrators, it broke some other way. We're going to keep digging into that for you and try to get you answers. Right now, I want to get to WFMU News 2's Adori Achumba because this protest, it divided into several different groups, and she's with another group of the demonstration right now.
That's right. I am live in downtown Greensboro at the corner of Friendly Avenue and Elm Street. The crowd was just moving a moment ago. Now they've stopped to address each other and speak to why they are here. Again, they've been saying, I can't breathe. What do we want? We want justice. When do we want it? Now. And that's the chant that they have been chanting until now when they stopped to address each other. We've seen several hundreds of them on this group here and other groups in the city, the ones that are on the I-40 area. So we're just following them to find out what's going on, as you can see them here addressing each other and speaking about the purpose that they are marching for. Again, remember, this is all spurred by the killing of George Floyd in Minneapolis early in the week. It has spurred passions in different communities across the country, and even right here in the Triad, down here in downtown Greensboro, as you can see. Again, the crowd is stopped. They've been marching up and down Elm Street. This is heading south on Elm Street, or heading northbound on Elm Street. They have stopped here at the intersection of Friendly Avenue to address each other. So I'm going to let Kyle play this and hear what they're saying. Again, apologies, there is some profanity here, but this is happening right now in downtown Greensboro. I'm going to put the microphone in here so you can hear from the protesters themselves what they're saying.
If we don't leave here without a plan, all of this was for nothing. So first thing you need to do is support black business. Speak on it. Stop giving your money to
No justice, no peace.
Why they got a black business going on?
All right, again, this group here addressing themselves at the corner of Elm Street or the intersection of Elm Street and Friendly Avenue. Again, they're impassioned about what has happened, and you can see the protests is spread across the country, even right here in downtown Greensboro. And this group has been marching all day today. The crowd is growing here. There has been some disruptions in some businesses, but right now you can see the crowd peacefully marching down Elm Street, and they have stopped here to talk to each other, burning sage and just speaking to the issue that they're here, protesting what they perceive as injustice, and the police brutality that is going on in communities of color and across the nation. So you can see them here speaking to each other about the situation.
It's a human right. You have the basic right of human decency to protect yourself. You can't rely on people with badges to do it, because guess what?
We're going to move a little closer so we can actually hear from the people what they're here for. And you can hear the speaker right there.
You must pray, but you gotta carry your pistol. You must pray, but you got to defend yourself, all right? Number 4, if you do not vote in November, don't come back to a goddamn protest.
That's right.
Yes.
There you go.
I'm trying to get Mitch McConnell the fuck out of there. We have to get all of the racist politics and even the black politicians of the Congressional Black Caucus who haven't done shit for black people. Get them out of office. It all happens when you vote. God bless you. I'm out.
All right, if you're just joining us, we are live on Friendly Avenue and Elm Street. The speaker leading this group has just spoken and really reiterated why they're out here on the streets this evening, the things that they're talking about, police brutality, injustice in communities, and really just, being struck by what has happened in Minneapolis, the killing of George Floyd in Minneapolis by that police officer who has now been arrested and charged. Again, the community pouring out here at different areas. This is another group. This is just one of a couple of groups out here in downtown Greensboro. Again, they're beginning to pick up their march, and we're just going to follow ahead of them. And as you can hear them, they're saying, what do we want? Justice? When do we want it? Now. You can see the crowd. And we're just going to walk ahead so that we're out of their way and we don't engage. So I'm going to switch over and just keep walking. And as I'm walking, I noticed that the police are patrolling on bicycles. They have some streets blocked off with their blue lights. And then you also have some areas, I noticed in some parking lots, they did move away their vehicles. And now we're walking northbound on Elm Street. And you can see the lady who's leading the march. She has a card, it says free prayer and hugs, and she's burning sage. Really just reflecting this is a peaceful march. and the people out here just wanting to state their case about how they feel. This group particularly, I haven't seen at this time anything that is not peaceful right now. So for now, this group is just marching down Elm Street and speaking to each other for now. We're just going to follow them and keep a pace with them here.
Hey Adore, you're doing a great job out there. Please stay safe. It looks like right now it is a very safe situation. I do want to let you know that if you were just joining us right now, there are several groups demonstrating around Greensboro right now. I'm actually trying to get some comment right now from our city officials, so I'm going to let you watch for just a second while I send a quick text message to one of them. It'll take just a split second here. I don't want to multitask and say something wrong. Okay, so while I was doing that, we're trying desperately to hear from them tonight because so far we've not heard from any of them. But I do want to show you that earlier in the night, it's very peaceful right now. There's not really much going on other than people sitting around talking to each other in downtown, which they have a permit to do. But earlier tonight, they did take over part of I-40 out by Gate City, and it was shut down in both directions for about an hour because police did not want the demonstrators to get hurt. We also know new information as of about 20 minutes that, here's some video before we get to that new information. This is what they were doing. They were actually sitting in the middle of the highway to shut it down. And I want to go over again why this is happening. They talk about the fact that in order to change the system that has been set up according to them against certain races, they have to disrupt society and get your attention and get the attention of lawmakers and the police themselves. And that is why they are saying they are doing this. A lot of people on Facebook asking what's going on. I want to also point out that we've had multiple reporters now tell you that this was extremely peaceful today. Denise told you that from what she saw. Jess told you that from what she saw. We also have Adore, who just witnessed it and brought you the video right there of it peacefully assembling. We do know that new information is that one of the windows at the International Civil Rights Center does appear to be broken and shattered. However, there's a group of demonstrators who are sitting out front of that window chanting, "We did not do this." There's not a clue of how it happened yet. We're going to try to dig into that, see if there's some security camera footage, and we also are trying to reach out to police and to the city to find out. Speaking of reaching out to the city, I have to say this. We need leadership from our city right now. This is a peaceful protest, but it still would be nice to hear from the people in charge. I will tell you that I have tried to contact the mayor several times today. Not only the mayor, but I have been sitting here while the other reporters were talking and texting city council members. One person told me they are ready for bed and could not do a phone interview with us right now in the middle of one of the biggest events in our city in a long time. This is what our city leaders are doing. So if they would like to contact us, if they're seeing this, maybe they didn't check their phone when I texted them earlier, but somehow they're watching on Facebook, let me know. Text me. You have my numbers. I would love to talk with you. Right now we want to get back to Adore though, because she is back on the streets in the thick of the action, and it does appear pretty peaceful from what we've seen earlier. Adore, we're going to see if it's still that way. Again, if you're just joining us, what happened is earlier today, about noon, the protest started forming downtown, and a group of about 150, 200 people walked for a couple of miles around downtown today, and then they split off into several different groups that split off across downtown on all sides. One of the sides is WFMY Adore's Chumba. Where are you at, Adore, right now?
All right, guys, we're still here on Elm Street facing the northbound side, and you can see behind me the group of protesters that I've been following within the last hour. Again, they stopped here to address the leader here, one of the leaders here, stopped to address the crowd, again, speaking to the issue of why they're here. Also speaking peacefully. I haven't seen this group doing anything disruptive. They've just really been laying out what it is they're out here on the streets for. The words that are coming out of their mouths, Black Lives Matter, what do we want? want justice? When do we want it? Now. These are some key phrases that this group has been chanting as they've been walking up Elm Street rather here in downtown Greensboro. Now, as you said, there are different groups. We have our crews, with all these different groups. Again, this group here has been peaceful. Again, carrying their placards. I'm reading different things on one. This one right here in front of me says free prayer and hugs. The young lady there ready for her to lead the group. She is the one leading this group here. And you have the other people in the back there speaking. Again, we're going to come closer so we can actually hear from them and not put words in their mouth as they speak. So I'm going to just point the microphone over here and let you hear exactly why this group says that they are out here. Again, that leader there just basically ushering folks back down towards the southbound lane. We're also going to we're going to follow them. They just told me they're going to the Civil Rights Museum, and we're just going to follow them, which is just about 2 blocks up the road here. So we're just going to follow them as they make their way down here. Again, like I said, I'm just going to be giving you some the ambience of this crowd. I'm just walking past the sign here that says injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. That's one of the cards that the ladies here in this march is holding. Another guy here, lady here with the Stop Killing Us sign right here. Says here, hashtag George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, Ahmaud Arbery, no justice, no peace. Again, these are names of individuals who have died at the hands of police officers or someone linked to local law enforcement. Pretty much doing their own thing, and then they are met with that scenario. And unfortunately, they are not here, so these people are standing for those names here on Elm Street in the downtown Greensboro. They are saying the names of those individuals who have fallen to the hands of police officers in this country. Again, those we've talked about those, the bad eggs in the group here that we're talking about. We do acknowledge that not everybody is like those individuals, but we do have some that are culpable in this scenario here. And these people are standing for them as they march down Elm Street here in Greensboro. Again, we're just going to walk up ahead here with our camera, and we are going to see, stand on the other side, the flip side of them as they walk southbound on Elm Street. Again, this group is going to join up with another group for now. They are peaceful. They've only just spoken about what they're here for. You can see them behind me here holding the fist. And this is a diverse group, as you can see. It's a diverse group that is reflective of the community. And you can see all of them behind as we walk up the southbound side of Elm Street, making our way to East Market intersection. And I'm going to flank up to the right here. You can see police officers at the ready here, just blocking off the road, blue lights going. Nothing is going on. There's no interaction with this group. Again, emphasizing that this group is peaceful for now. But we are with them and following them and observing, and also speaking about why this group says that they are here. There you see that placard the young lady is holding there, and it's got some profanity on it, but I'm just going to read the other part of this placard. It says, no justice, no peace, I can't breathe. One of the phrases uttered by George Floyd as that police officer knelt on him. Again, this is Elm Street in downtown Greensboro, now making our way to the International Civil Rights Center, back to meet the other group that is here, that was coming from the other side.
Watch out.
All right, so.
Can I give you my business card real quick? So you go ahead with some area work?
Sure, give me.
Don't forget it, all right? You got your own drone?
And just as you're coming to us live, the group has started to mobilize once again. It looks like we're moving farther south down the street. We're in front of the International Civil Rights Center and Museum, and we have been parked here for about 15 minutes at this time. A peculiar thing happened just about 5 minutes ago. The upstairs lights at the International Civil Rights Center and Museum flicked on, then off, I cannot tell you the reasoning behind that. I wish I could. I also wish I could tell you that I've heard back from Greensboro Police, but I have not. Because if you can tell, and Sean, if you can zoom in, Sean is my photographer, there is one glass paneling on the International Civil Rights Center and Museum that says shattered glass. And then I can't read the rest of it, but it's taped off. And several people out here were chanting and screaming that we did not do this. Our people did not do this. We've been out here since noon. This was not us. Now, I haven't been here all day, so I can't speak to any of that. But I will tell you that I was here earlier around around 4 p.m. And there was a group of people that was handing out waters for free right in front of the Center and Museum. And I was very grateful for it because it was a very hot, scorching day, and we were walking for miles following the march, following the protesters. So predominantly, this has remained peaceful. We can't confirm who has done this, who vandalized the International Civil Rights Center and Museum today of all days, when a group of people are spreading the message that Black Lives Matter, that injustices have been going on for not just years, decades, but for centuries. A lot of people were chanting, "I am not my ancestors." That's a big one that we've been hearing tonight. "I am not my ancestors," and "Black Lives Matter." Now, it appeared that we were on the move, but people have paused once again, just feet away from us. And chants are continuing. We hear the name George Floyd over and over again tonight because that is what sparked these protests nationwide after he was killed on May 25th at the hands, or knee, I should say, of a police officer. Now we're going to continue with this coverage, and we're going to be following the protesters. As Adori mentioned, we're about 2 blocks away from her, so we'll get up with her and see what she's seeing on her end in just a little bit.
So guys, this is breaking news. I just got a city councilwoman on my cell phone. She's right here. She's willing to talk with us about what is going on tonight. Ms. Goldie Wells, what do you think of these demonstrations downtown?
Well, when I saw a bit of news feed later this afternoon, I was pleased that the demonstrations have been calm and peaceful. I was also struck by the fact that the police department, our police department, they were assisting the demonstrators. There was an article in the paper this morning where our police chief said that every time there's an incident, like has happened in Minneapolis, it destroys trust with the police department. I hope this demonstration and seeing the police department working with the demonstrators will help to build trust. And earlier this morning over here in my neighborhood, the police were assisting as food was being distributed by Second Harvest Food Bank. So I hope that, I know there's a lot of unrest, but I think the cooperation that I saw with the police department and our demonstrators, and I'm so glad it was peaceful, will help to build relationships.
Again, if you're just joining us, we're on the phone right now with Councilwoman Goldie Wells. How much faith do you have in the Greensboro Police Department to use the correct judgment in situations that could be pretty dangerous?
I have a lot of faith in the way that they are moving and trying to build better relationships. We have a new chief who has gone to every community and tried to get some feedback from the citizens as to what they wanted to. I'm just looking for those things to be enacted, and that citizens' voice will be heard and their concerns will be addressed. And I'm looking forward to good relationships with them.
There were a lot of meetings and they're still taking ideas. I think that's important to point out. It seems to be that there's a really good dialogue between the police in Greensboro and the crowds, especially from what we're seeing in the demonstration. Why is that so important?
Very important. Everyone wants to be heard. And when you're heard, there should be some action, some changes. When you find out how people feel, and all of the demonstrations and the violence that we've seen is because it's like folk have not been heard, and that they've been ignored and they're not treated fairly. When you feel like you've been treated fairly, and that you're being heard and that you're addressing the issues, then there's a different response. So that may be the reason why ours was peaceful. I hope that's the reason. I hope that we are about building better relationships here in Greensboro.
I will tell you, lots of people on Facebook Live right now are saying Greensboro's doing it right, we're peaceful. They're thanking you for coming on and talking about this. I have to ask you before you go, you are a city leader. You have power to create change. Will this demonstration motivate you to take up this issue and keep fighting for it?
Oh, I am very concerned about the issue, and I think you will be hearing more. There are other, I'm not the only person, I guess you would call a politician, that's concerned about it. There will be more discussion.
You guys have been talking about it a lot, I'm sure.
Yes. So you just happened to get me tonight, but there are others who are concerned, and you will see some results.
Well, ma'am, it is very late. I know there's a lot going on, so we'll let you go. But thank you for taking the time to call in. We appreciate your thoughts on this issue, and you have a good night.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. So you just heard a Greensboro City Councilwoman say that she is proud of this demonstration for remaining peaceful. She is also proud of our police officers for trying to help the demonstrators. That is not something that we have seen in every other place across the city. And Councilwoman Goldie Wells says that might be why Greensboro is actually a peaceful demonstration right now. But is it going to stay that way? Let's check in right now with Adore Achumba, who's live in downtown Greensboro with the latest.
All right, we are right here in front of the International Civil Rights Museum, a location of a very historic protest in and of itself. That's where we have these marchers here. I've been with them again for the last hour. They've been marching up Elm Street, and right now they're addressing themselves here as they've gathered in front of the Civil Rights Museum. Again, these guys here have said, and they've said to me, that they're out here to march and protest injustice, things that they perceive as injustice, police brutality. They're holding their placards and their signs to express themselves. Again, you know, we're in the midst of this pandemic, so many of these people are covered, wearing their masks here. There's not much of social distancing here for obvious reasons. This is a protest march, and they are protesting matters that are very concerning to them and their community. And again, we're right here. They have stopped here in front of the Civil Rights Museum. This group has been peaceful, as I said. Right now, there's a cluster happening, some talk happening in there. We're going to move a little closer now so that we can get some within earshot of what's happening. And then we're going to just give you an ambience of what's happening in the group. Actually, we're going to just stand back here and look at what is happening from here. They are moving ahead now towards the southbound north on Elm Street, southbound Elm Street, walking up the road on Elm Street here. Again, we're behind this group, so we really can't see some of what is happening in front. We're just going to try to make our way up ahead. Like I said, just giving you some ambience of what this group has with them. They're carrying these different signs, talking about the incidents that have happened in Minneapolis and all over the country, you know, involving black people, being harmed by police. In this case, we have George Floyd, who was killed by police, as we saw in that video that circulated earlier this week. And that's why these people say they are out here. And they've been chanting Black Lives Matter, no justice, no peace. There's a sign says, "Stop killing us." We're seeing these different signs. And I'm going to turn over here now to the Civil Rights Museum. You can see one window is broken. We have that group clustered over there. Kylie, if you just come up with me here, let's see what's going on over here. Again, another sign says, "Police should protect, not murder." If you take a look at that, we demand justice. That's a sign there. Police should protect us. We demand justice. Stop killing minorities and claiming it's policing. Again, this is a very diverse group. We've seen a mixture of the community here in downtown Greensboro, pretty much holding their different signs and expressing themselves. You know, most of them with faces covered, so, but still, when they stop, they are chanting as they're making their way down. They're making their way down Elm Street here. and walking past this International Civil Rights Center. I'm going to try to find someone here who will talk to me about why exactly they're here. Anybody just want to come to? I want to hear from you specifically. Here. What's your name, ma'am?
My name is Jasmine Brown.
Jasmine Brown. All right,
Yes.
so you've been with this group for how long this evening?
So we've been out here since about 5 o'clock this evening. We've been out here all day long. Absolutely.
Now, can you tell me in your own words why you are here today?
First and foremost, I am a recent graduate of North Carolina A&T State University. Our A&T 4 came here and did this for us years ago. They sat in at the Woolworth, at that countertop, and fought for justice, and that's exactly what we're here to do tonight. All we care about is our family. We care about our black brothers. We care about our fathers, our uncles, our grandfathers, and all of our people that have put so much work into trying to make it in this world, and we're just tired of it. And we're tired of trying to be peaceful when y'all are still, well, not y'all, excuse me, but other people are coming at us sideways. So we're down here trying to be peaceful. We know y'all don't see us looting. We're down here just fighting for our rights, and we're going to continue to do so.
All right, thank you for speaking with me, and be safe tonight, okay? All right, so you've heard it there. Just one of the protesters here, again, meeting up, this group here, about several hundreds of them here, together, meeting up with another group up ahead. So you heard it from that young lady about why she is here. You heard it from her directly, why she is here, speaking to the importance of why they picked this particular location here in Greensboro, where that significant protest took place at the Woolworths counter in 1960. That's a very significant moment in civil rights in this country, and that's why these people are here. Again, they are walking down that way on South Elm, going southbound here, and that sign there, it says "Black at it again." Again, right now, this group, like I said, is peaceful. We're just going to keep following them and observing firsthand what is happening with this group and the conversations that they're having out here. For now, we're just going to put the camera on them and just keep following them.
Hey, Dora, I just want to catch people up here. If you are just now joining this Facebook Live feed, here's what is going on right now. You are looking at pictures of downtown Greensboro. Earlier today, around 12 o'clock, a group started forming to demonstrate, and they say this is a very peaceful demonstration. In fact, some of them told us they don't even like the words protesters because that's not really what this is in their mind. So that group walked a couple of miles around downtown, and then as the night went on, they stretched past sunset, hoping for a new day with police relations, and they said they want to stick out there. So what happened was more and more people started coming, and at one point they split off into a couple of different groups. You can see one large group down the street there, you see another group the other way, and on the other side of downtown we're being told there's another group where Itanese McMiller is. I want to see what it's like over by Itanese.
What is that?
And this is where it all started this morning at noon. They were right here outside the Civil Rights Museum. There were only about 5 or 6 people earlier this morning, much different from what it is right now at 10 p.m. There's hundreds of people downtown. There's also been some damage we're seeing to the Civil Rights Museum where there's shattered glass, and there's also caution tape to keep more damage from happening to that building. And if we can pan right over this way, we're starting to see the crowds head further down Elm Street as well. But again, this is where it all started. They started this morning with about a group of 4 or 5. More and more people have continued to come out downtown and protest in honor of George Floyd. And they've been prepared. They've got bottles of water, cases of water, because they're prepared to march throughout the night. And organizers I spoke with tell me that this is meant to be a peaceful protest, so they're trying to keep it that way. And then just a few blocks down, I did see a group of about 10 or 15 officers on their bikes prepared to continue to allow these protesters to walk down the streets and block off the streets for them to continue to do so peacefully. So of course we'll continue to keep you updated. We've been seeing protesters walking down. We'll continue to walk down and follow them down this way as well. We're going to continue to walk this way. So this is what they have been doing all day. They were here Again, like I said, at noon, walking down Elm Street onto Gate City Boulevard, it seems that they're continuing to do the same thing, and officers have been walking with them on their bikes. They've got patrol cars out, blocking the roads off for them to make sure that they can get down these roads peacefully. We did get back down here not too long ago. Everything still seems to be fairly peaceful for the most part, but of course that number has grown. There are several hundred people down here right now. You can see some of the police cars over here in the corner where they're blocking off their intersections to make sure that folks are able to continue to walk down the street and they're not going to be interrupted by any traffic downtown. And I'm told that they're going to continue to do this, like I said, throughout the night. And organizers say that, again, this is a peaceful protest. They want to keep it this way. We'll continue to walk down. And I've been out here since noon. A lot of new faces. I've been seeing people starting to come downtown and join in. So it's not the same group that was here at noon. Of course, some of the original organizers are still out here from this morning, but a lot of new faces that I'm seeing coming downtown. Right now it's very, very quiet. They're not chanting. They were chanting earlier. They were chanting no justice, no peace. Of course, George Floyd's name, this is, where this is all stemming from. We've also heard them chanting, no chains. There have been signs, people with different signs throughout the city as well. We're just going to... Yes.
Denise, we're looking on Twitter right now, and there's a whole lot of people on Twitter saying, come to Greensboro from the rest of the state, be a part of this. Have you been meeting anyone from out of town there, or does it seem to all be people who live here so far?
That I am not 100% sure of. We did just get back down here because we were on the interstate. We were on I-40.
Yeah,
let's get out of the way. We've got some officers coming down the road.
What's going on with the officers? Can we spin that camera around?
We've got some cruisers coming down. Yep, we've got some cruisers coming down. We're going to continue to walk down to try and get a better view of what's going on.
Yeah, so if you're just joining us, we have now seen 2 police cars whiz by. It sounds like there are more coming.
Yes, 2 cruisers.
Itanese is trying to get down to the other side of the street safely. We want you to be safe out there, Itanese. We do also want to say that there was several large groups at one point, but they've actually all come together now in downtown. You can see our reporters are just a few feet.
We're seeing more and more police cruisers coming down. We're seeing lots of cruisers, as well as it looks like maybe it's because a train is coming. We're going to continue to walk down to try and find out exactly what the commotion is. But like I said, we've just seen about 5 or 6 different police cruisers, as well as 5 or 6 officers on their bikes heading towards McGee Street.
I love that you pointed out it could be because the train's coming. It is really important not to jump to conclusions and things like this. That is why we want to wait till we get down to that other side to tell you what's going on. I will say, though, that is the most police presence I have seen since this demonstration started. It sounds like Itanese is trying to ask people, do they know what's going on? She's a great reporter, and she's been all over tonight for you. It looks like some people are starting to come back from down that way, so I'm very curious to see what is going on down there. We also know that we have some other crews around that area. We're going to check in with them, too, and see if any of them might know what that is, why Itanese tries to get closer. Again, that was the most police we've seen since this demonstration started. We saw maybe, 6 cars whiz by, and then those police officers on bicycles. I will also tell you that so far tonight, this has been a very peaceful protest. A little while ago, okay, we have a live picture of what's going on. We have no information about it right now, just this live picture. So I want you to not judge until we get more information. But it just looks like there's a police car that's possibly blocking off the area at this point. We're trying to see more of what is going on. I will tell you, sometimes in these demonstrations, you have to point your camera down or you're going to get a lot of unwanted attention. So that might be why you see it going to the ground a couple of times there. It looks like this, and Itanese, correct me if I'm wrong here, this is right there at the train tracks. And and there's something on the train tracks. It looks like someone had placed a dumpster on the train tracks. That's about the most vandalism that we have seen tonight. I will tell you, we do know that at some point, At some point, we're going to get to Adori Achumba, who is on the other side of that and might have a better idea of what's going on. But it has been peaceful, and it appeared there was just some kind of trash can in the train's way. Adori, what do you know?
All right, so we are walking towards all the police lights here, towards the train track on South Elm. This is the intersection of, here, waiting to see this sign here. Well, it's right at the train tracks, and there's a crowd going on. We saw the police cruisers rushing this way, and then we saw some people running towards this train track here. As we walk up to see what is happening, I don't hear them again. Okay, we walk. All right, so we're walking up towards this group here, trying to figure out what's happening. You see some people running, and some police officers here facing up. Okay, let's walk around here. All right, we were walking up here at South Elm Street on Barnhart to see what is happening here.
Hey, Adori,
all right, we see the crowd is getting a little rowdy here.
Yeah, be safe in that crowd.
I see some people standing ahead of the police officers.
Oh, we got car windows over here.
And then some car windows on that side. Again, we're trying to stay at a safe distance while we observe what is happening. We got several police officers here standing, facing off. The protesters are facing off the police officers here.
We're going to move.
If you're just now joining us,
we're going to swing the camera around so we can get a better vantage point of what is happening. You can see right in front of the police officers on the bicycles there, you see some protesters standing up close to them. One lady in front there trying to address the crowd. It looks like they have sprayed some kind of this is tear gas or pepper spray is in the air that is causing people to cough.
They want to see the fucking violence, but they don't want to see what it is.
I want to point out while Adori's out there that we do have security with these crews, so they're trying to bring you the story out there. We're going to get back to that video in just a second because it is really compelling at the moment. But according to Adori, on the ground, it looks like some type of pepper spray was sprayed in the area. This after we saw a dumpster on the train tracks right there in downtown over by the boxcar kind of bearded goat area. Can we get Adori back up here? Okay, we're going to go to Itanise, who's on the other side of all this. Itanise, what are you seeing from there? Looks like we might be having a little difficulty getting to Itanise. All that chaos going on right now makes it really hard for technology. I do want to say that is the most ruckus we've seen the crowd all day long. It has been a very peaceful, very, very peaceful demonstration so far today. That right there seems to be a change in things just a little bit. Hopefully we can get Itanise. Oh, we have Jess actually on the other side here. Jess, what's going on?
Tracks all the way over.
Hi, Ben. I heard you talking earlier, and I also heard Adori speak to it a little bit, but I was here as police officers had their first interaction with protesters of the night in a bigger scope where they're actually planted their police cars right in the middle of the street. And you were talking about that garbage bin, that trash can that was placed on the tracks. A protester did put it there. I witnessed it. And then a police officer went up to it. It appeared that it fell over. And now it is no longer on the tracks. They've placed it on the sidewalk. But we're seeing some verbal disagreements between protesters and police. They are using their bikes as guards and as barriers. Excuse me, I'm losing my voice quite a bit because we're seeing things being thrown. Rocks are being thrown. Rocks are being thrown as we speak. Earlier, water bottles were being thrown. Okay. A rock just came.
Okay, we definitely want to make sure that Jessica is safe in that situation. From what we saw just now, we don't have it confirmed, but it did appear, according to Jess, that a rock was thrown, and then I did see a police officer grab his head there. I don't know if you saw that. We do not know if that police officer got hit. We do know that Itanise, though, is also in the thick of it. Itanise, what did you see? Hi, Denise, you there?
Right now, we are not too far from where Jess is. Right now, we are not too far from where Jess is. We can see a lot of those police cars, police cruisers. But I do have one of the organizers who have been here since noon, and she has been talking to us about how things have started to escalate. Tell me a little bit about what you've been seeing throughout the day.
Throughout the day, earlier today, it was a lot more peaceful. It was more structured. Decided to walk down Gate City, which y'all was with us there, and it was a beautiful thing. It was a beautiful sight. Everybody could come together as one. You know, we had the Caucasians and the people of different nationalities barricading the beginning of the protest, and that was perfect. Walked down Gate City, made it to the highway.
We've got a train coming by right now. We've got the train coming, but you can still see that people are still gathered right there by the train tracks. There's also still some police cruisers out there right up on the train tracks. But so as things start to escalate, of course now it's 10 o'clock, we've been here all day. What are you starting to see now?
Right now, more people have come into, we thought was to support, but they're getting a little bit more wildy, a little bit they're on their tippy toes, like angrier. The earlier crowd was a little bit more peaceful. And if people got upset, it was enough people around to step to them and tell them to calm down. We're better than that.
Why do you think that the atmosphere, the energy is starting to change?
I want to say it's a different group. Maybe different vibe coming in. It's got to be the same mixture of people, but it's different mentalities. That's what it comes down to, and to me. Like, not on the same page.
And we did see a broken glass in front of the Civil Rights Building. We're hearing of rocks being thrown. What do you have to say about what's starting to transpire tonight?
It's getting out of hand. Like Michelle Obama said, they go low, we go high. That was the whole point of this protest. We was trying to show America that we can be an example and be peaceful. Have a peaceful protest. Everything we're doing, trying to loot and disrespecting the cops. I feel what we're going through, but we shouldn't have to get to the point that all these cops aren't bad. It's good cops. I have family members that are cops. So we're making our point peacefully. America has been watching all week. They're not missing anything, so we don't have to go through what everybody else went through and destroy our own community. We got to come together as a community, which we are doing. It's every color out here. So I don't know, we get people together and try to calm it down. Somebody need to just talk to them.
So is that what you all plan to do, is to try and tone things down a little bit?
Yeah, we had to get the people who was started out at the beginning, we had to get them down here to try to rowdy the crowd back down, get them back on the same page you was on earlier. We had to call people back out.
Well, I thank you for talking to me. I appreciate it. And again, like I said, she's been here all morning. I've been seeing her from noon as well. I mean, at noon. So I just wanted to talk to some of the organizers about what they're starting to see tonight. Again, we do see a lot of cruisers down here. We're going to continue to walk down this way and bring you some updates as we get more into the mix of where a lot of the protesters are heading.
Really enlightening, Denise. That was some interesting information that she thinks it's a different crowd now, and that's why it's changing. A second ago, you saw Jess Winters duck for cover. Jess, are you okay? I'm hearing that you might have a shot back up here.
It's not no game, y'all. Come on.
Yeah, Ben, I am okay. I just want to let everyone know I'm okay, but we are hearing that pepper spray, whether that's pepper bullets or pepper fogger, I don't know, has been deployed quite recently, a couple of moments ago, and now it's coming my way. Excuse me. When you really, it can have a very immense effect, even if it's not aimed right at you. I have been at protests before, and I have experienced pepper fogger, and you can just tell in your throat, and people around me are coughing. I even saw some police officers having some coughing fits not too long ago. I want to mention I was not pepper sprayed. This was, I want to say, a very far distance away, and it still has reached us. The wind has carried it. Now, up to this point, the protest had been peaceful. Excuse me, I think I'm going to need a moment to catch my breath. Ben, can you take it over for just a couple minutes?
Stay with this picture if we can. Can we bring back her picture and give Jess just a second to catch her breath? I want to repeat what we know now. We know that the organizer from earlier today says that at this point, things are changing. Look at that police officer right there trying to wash his mouth out. He was rubbing his eyes from that pepper spray or whatever it was that was sprayed in the air a second ago that was getting Jess. It clearly is having a big impact. Lots of people around there, you're seeing their faces squint up a little bit. It is not fun. I have been in a protest like that before too, and it really does stop you in your tracks. It makes it hard to focus on what you're doing. I commend Jess for being able to still report out there, but what we're noticing right now is that this is a big change. A second ago, Jess said rocks were being thrown. Now, the organizer from earlier today just said that she has heard people have even been trying to loot out in Greensboro. That is completely different than what we have seen earlier today. Doria Chumba's out there with the crowd. What are you seeing? Any of this looting or pepper spray?
Go. All right, we are right here at the corner of South Elm and Barnhart, right at the train tracks here. You can see the group of cops here. This minute, just before I got back on here, there was a little incident here. There was a fight. Some of the protesters coming from the other end, trying to meet up with another group here, right at the train tracks. The police officers keeping them apart. And then we saw some rocks being thrown, as well as some tear gas that kind of disoriented the crowd a bit. But now you see the police officers are on that side there. Right behind me is where the incident is taking place right there. We see a fight that was happening over there, just trying to get a picture of what exactly is going on. But you see some people over in that corner there, the police on that side, just kind of like creating a wall on that side there. And also on this side, another group of police officers with the bicycles also creating a wall over there as well. While we're right here at the intersection, right where the train tracks are, we're going to point the camera right over on that side. See some police officers in riot gear marching and making their way up towards that side. We're going to follow them just to see what's going on. Again, we have the police officers there in riot gear facing off some of the protesters, and we have more police officers coming up from this side as well. Again, moments ago this group was peaceful, but now everything just went off, and we've got the officers in riot gear there going towards the railroad to face off with those protesters on that side. Again, some of these protesters have dispersed, and we have the police officers in the middle right there on the train tracks in their riot and tactical gear there, forming a wall against the protesters on that side. Again, we did have some rocks thrown at us here and had the police officers thrown at the police officers as well. Again, it got a little rowdy, and everybody had to kind of seek safety alongside, the tear gas that was thrown sort of like disoriented people here.
You got people coming, you got police moving to our left flank to protect our left flank.
All right, so we've got another group here. You can see the police officers going in that direction to the left side of where we are. And further down, I can see some movement over there. It's not well lit. It's not well lit, so we can't really see what's happening beyond there. But we do see there's some kind of skirmish ongoing over there in the background.
We got a wall behind you.
So we're right in the center of 4 police walls here. To my left, one to my right, and one right behind me. The one on the right there, you see another encounter there with the police. It's not as rowdy as the one behind. There's quite a distance between this wall of police officers and the folks back in that end. And then also to my right, or rather to my left, you see another group there with a standoff. Some of them with their hands up, with the police and Guilford County Sheriff that have lined up and created a wall. And you can see some of the protesters there standing off against them and defying that wall, as you can see. So we're sort of like in a little circle here, and we've got walls of police officers around us. We also see some of the protesters, more protesters going up that way, where the sheriff's deputies are lined up. And still happening behind me over on that side, you see the other line of Greensboro police officers. Greensboro police officers there. You see some of the protesters walking up towards that wall as well. So, like I said, we're right in the middle of this. It's happening all around. Like I said, just about an hour ago, 30 minutes ago, this was a peaceful protest as folks were marching up from the northbound side on Elm Street and the southbound side of Elm Street, and then they clustered here at the center at the train tracks, and that's where the commotion began. Again, we're going to turn you to where things are happening, where you can see some activity. The sheriff's deputies on that side. You see some of the protesters with their hands up over on that side on the train tracks. The police officers had attempted to keep the protesters off of the train tracks, but you can see the protesters have moved onto the train tracks there, right in the center.
Those guys are closed in as well.
And also on the other side here, to my right, you also see another group. They have come a little closer now to the officers there, standing in front of them and inching closer as we have been here, defying that wall with the police officers. Again, we have the wall right around us, and as they're closing in on this center here at the intersection, the officers inching, not giving up ground as they're going. So right now, things have calmed down just a little bit, and we're going to just observe here for a moment as we just pass it on to my colleagues back here, back to you guys in the studio, just so that we can reassess and see what is happening and where we can position ourselves. Again, this is a very fluid situation, a very dangerous situation, as we've seen rocks being thrown. So we're going to just take a break here. Again, the reason why these guys are out here, that sign, Black Lives Matter, they have been chanting that all evening and holding signs walking up and down Elm Street here tonight. Different signs really expressing themselves. And so we're going to just take a minute here, and then we'll be right back to you guys.
What you are witnessing is a giant change in how this demonstration has gone from the rest of the day. It has been totally peaceful up to this point. Last 10-15 minutes, it's getting pretty chaotic out there. We have seen rocks thrown, according to Jess. We have seen people who have been pepper sprayed. We have seen fight reports. The organizer from earlier today said she's also heard about looting. We haven't confirmed that yet. But one thing I do want to point out is that on Twitter for the past couple of hours, I've been seeing people post, hey, come to Greensboro. This is developing in Greensboro. So we might be getting some of those people from out of town here now who are starting to change the tune. That's one of the things the organizer thought. Itanise is on the ground on the other side of that police barricade. Itanise, what's it look like from there?
Well, right now, we are right in front of the train tracks, and there was originally a nice gap between the riot squad. Now, a lot of the protesters are up in front of those, the police department's faces right now. We did, again, hear folks chanting George Floyd's name. They did take a break. Some people were trying to get a little rowdy. Folks were trying to get a little rowdy earlier, but some of the organizers were coming in front saying, hey, let's calm down, let's put our hands up, let's stay peaceful. So it's a mix here in the crowd. It's a mix going on right now in the crowd, but again, like I said, the riot crowd is standing right here blocking off the street. A lot of the protesters are starting to gather right now. I'm going to just let you see some of them. They're right here in front of the department's, the sheriff's department, and then blocking off the barricades. Again, like I said, they are starting to chant again George Floyd's name. A lot of people are trying to just keep things peaceful, and some are trying to get rowdy. You can hear a lot of different chanting going on right now. It's getting a little hectic. Again, I hope you all can hear them. They're chanting George Floyd.
He better not spray me. He better get a paintball on me. He spraying on the total regardless.
If you're just joining us, I want to show you what's going on right now. A few minutes ago, this protest got pretty ruckus. Now it appears to be going more peaceful again, as we're seeing a tactic that has been shared across the country of demonstrators going right up to that police line and holding their hands up, trying to get their message straight to those men and women in uniform, that they want to have peace with them. Now, I will tell you that a little bit earlier, we had the organizer of the event on here, and she said things have really changed out here. It is not as peaceful as it was, but what she wants to do is not in the protest now. Instead, she was calling for people who have been at the protest earlier today when it was peaceful to come back out and try to change the tone again. We have been told by some protesters they plan to spend all night out there. More people are commenting, talking about they're planning to protest tomorrow on our Facebook page. We're seeing some of those comments. We do have coverage all over this area. I'm hoping we can check in with one of our other reporters. Is Jess okay? She had some pepper spray earlier and was having trouble breathing. We're going to let her recover a little bit right now, but she is okay. She's trying to get in a good position and find out more information for you. What you are seeing right now is a police barricade. All day long we've had these different groups, and they've been manageable sized groups. Now they've all come together surrounding these police officers right there in downtown Greensboro, right around the boxcar area. So we have Jess. Jess, where are you at now?
Hey Ben, thanks for checking in with me. We are right where WFMY News 2's Adoria Chumba was about a couple minutes ago, and nothing much has changed. We have people in riot gear out here, law enforcement. It's the Guilford County Sheriff's Office. They have deployed their riot team in order to help out the city. Now, the last time you saw me, I was coughing a little bit, having a coughing fit because of the pepper fogger. I am okay. A lot of people were struck with it as well, inadvertently or advertently, and the coughing fits have stopped. Police were also coughing. And right now there's a confrontation going on, and I'm going to have Sean pan over there and zoom in between the Guilford County Sheriff's Office in their riot gear, in their tactical gear, and the protesters. At one point, a train was going through downtown, and it quite literally split the protesters in half. There are hundreds of people down here, but some were on one side of the train on South Elm, and then the others were on the other side, and there was nothing they could really do about it. And during that time, I saw Greensboro police go to their vans, get their riot gear, get their shields ready, and then start to form a line while they had that advantage. But it was peaceful, this protest, this march. There were several of them throughout the day, and all of them had been peaceful. It was just within the last hour or so that there were several disagreements, several interactions that leaned more toward the violent side. I did have rocks thrown at me, several people did. Prior to that, what you didn't see on camera is water bottles were being thrown as well, and we all had to rush and to run at one point because we didn't know what it was. This is just such a fluid situation. We don't know what's happening. We didn't hear a noise, but all of a sudden you see people running and you follow them because you're thinking whatever's in that direction, I don't want to be near it. It ended up just being water bottles, but then some people were saying tear gas, tear gas. Later on, pepper fogger was deployed. I do have to confirm that with Greensboro police, but I can confirm it with my own senses because I was inhaling it along with several other protesters out here. But right now, it seems to be calm. Feet away, that is where the major interactions are going on, where protesters are quite literally inches away from the sheriff's office, and also there are some city police up there too. There are some signs with some foul language on it, but mostly it's just verbal exchanges, people saying no justice, no peace. George Floyd's name is echoing throughout the city tonight. George Floyd, George Floyd, George Floyd. They want us to pay attention, and we certainly are paying attention. I have never seen this many Greensboro police patrol cars in downtown Greensboro in my life, if I had to count, because they are extending all the way down MLK as well, because this entire area is blocked off. If I had to guess, there are 50 police cars down here, a ton more police officers. There's a line of them that are also on the tracks. Hey, Sean, Sean's my photographer. Hey, can you pan over here as well? Because I want to show them the other line of city police that are over here interacting with another group of about a dozen protesters. And over there, that is where the pepper fogger was deployed earlier, and it caught up wind and then headed toward all the rest of the protesters out here. But I can't tell you exactly what was happening. There's a lot of noises out here, a lot of sights and sounds that it's hard to keep up with all of it. And it's a lot to take in at once. This is an impassioned protest. And, you know, we were at the International Civil Rights Center and Museum not but 1 hour ago, where people stood in solidarity and said, no more injustices. And suddenly, all at once, 1960 didn't feel like so long ago. It felt like just yesterday, or maybe even today. So I think at the very least we need to keep the conversation going.
Jess.
People are fighting against inequality today, not just because of George Floyd. We've heard so many names echo throughout the town of Greensboro tonight, and we can't forget them, and that's the message tonight. Now,
Jess, you are right on the money there.
You're probably hearing just as well as I can that the chants aren't happening right now. They come and go. 1 minute there's chants for a while, and then they stop. So for now, I'm going to send it back to you, Ben.
So we had Jessica out there in the middle of all of it. You heard what a night it has been. Totally peaceful until about 30 minutes ago. Then bottles started being thrown, rocks started being thrown. We've heard of a couple of fights going on too. And at one point, tear gas or pepper spray, we're not sure which one, but it was deployed. You could see the police officers, the demonstrators, even Jess suffering from that out there. Now, I do want to point out something that a lot of you on Facebook have been commenting about, saying that it is not good to report unconfirmed information, saying that I talked about the leader of the protest from earlier who heard that they were trying to loot out there. I want to point out that we did not say that they are looting, but that the leader of the protest is saying that she has heard it has happened. And just a second ago, we had someone comment on our page, Christy, who says, I am here. They are throwing rocks and cops and breaking into businesses. So that is an eyewitness, according to her, from Facebook. We are trying to get our crews to those areas where we think it might be happening from reports we are hearing. We do have Adore Achumba up next. Adore, are you still in this fence with all the police officers?
Yes, I am here in the center, right down the intersection where the railroad crosses Elm Street. And I'm facing here, that side is the northbound side, and you can see the protesters facing off against a line of sheriff deputies here. You can see some people on the floor. Moments ago, it was chaos here with rocks and tear gas, but you can see the protesters up front there. Now they are sitting down on the ground. They're facing off against the sheriff's deputies in tactical gear and riot gear. And speaking to why they are here, also towards Bernhardt at the intersection here was also another row of police officers there, facing off against another group of protesters coming from that end, sort of like creating a little center circle here, which we find ourselves right in the middle of, with all of them just right around here. And we have right behind me, behind the photographer, if you spin around there, another group of officers there in tactical gear also forming another wall against approaching protesters here on this side. So pretty much it's happening all around, with the ones on that side having a conversation with the officers sitting down against the line of deputies there, and then the other ones approaching. And again, just forming this cluster right here, the circle, right at the intersection of South Elm Street, MLK to this side, and Bernhardt to that side. Again, all of this started peacefully, but somewhere around an hour ago, there was chaos that erupted here with people throwing rocks. We had the tear gas canister that went off and sort of like disrupted everybody here. From my understanding, this is different groups of protesters just merging up to this center location here, with some of the other group had been at the International Civil Rights Center, had some conversation and speeches over there, and made their way up here and then clustered here. Again, different scenes happening all around us as we are in the center here. Another group of people there erupting on that side and facing off the officers over there as well. Again, this is a very fluid situation. We're watching what's happening and, forming around the circle and the different walls of officers that are standing off and keeping these different groups separated at the different corners right here. That has all culminated at this intersection with the rail tracks on South Elm Street and North Elm Street intersection here. Again, sort of calm right now, but moments ago, that was not the case. Things have kind of settled down a little bit with some of those people just talking to themselves and to each other and speaking to the police officers who have mounted sentry up that area. Again, we are in downtown Greensboro, lots of fluid moving parts here. We have different teams, the police and the sheriff's department, all standing here with the protesters as this protest continues here in downtown Greensboro. We're just going to stay here and keep watching the situation. Right now, we're watching the situation to see what happens. Again, we're staying in this circle throughout this evening here, and we'll be updating you on what's happening. For now, it's back to you guys in the studio.
So the big takeaway from today is that it has been a mostly peaceful protest. They tried to get their voice across calmly. There was only about 10 minutes there of chaos. You're going to see in just a second when we go live on WFMY News 2 at 11 what that is, but it has been a peaceful protest. Stick with us as we continue our live coverage of the events downtown. Breaking tonight, hundreds of demonstrators in downtown Greensboro. Right now, it has been a peaceful day for the most part until about 30 minutes ago when rocks and bottles started being thrown. Police were using their bikes as barricades, tear gas also in the mix out there. Earlier today, hundreds of demonstrators forced police to close Interstate 40 near Gate City Boulevard for about 90 minutes. Once they left, the demonstrators headed back downtown, and that's when things got really interesting. Now, all these demonstrators moved to action after a police officer in Minneapolis held his knee on the neck of George Floyd while arresting him on suspicion of writing a bad check, a very small charge. Video shows the officer left his knee there for almost 9 minutes as Floyd is heard saying, "I can't breathe." Floyd died. The officer is out of the job and facing murder charges. That's why people are speaking up now, praying whatever they can do to be heard. WFMY News 2's Jess Winters is live downtown. Jess pointed out this has been a very peaceful day for the most part, but it's been pretty active recently, Jess.
Ben, yes, it's been predominantly peaceful today. We have been covering this all day since 1 p.m., but I want to give you the gist of what's happened in the past couple of hours. Red and blue lights lighting up the night sky as George Floyd's name echoes throughout the city of Greensboro. This is a hectic protest at this point in terms of numbers, the number of people here. I would guess that 300 plus people are here tonight. Earlier in the day, in the afternoon, we were seeing crowds, split up crowds of about 100 to 200 people at a time, but this has been the biggest, the main gathering. We are right by the train tracks downtown on South Elm Street. And Sean, if you can pan, Sean is my photographer, you can see the Guilford County Sheriff's Office deputies in riot gear. They have been deployed to help city police, but city police are out here, of course, too. If I had to guess, there are about 50 Greensboro police patrol cars out here, all flashing their lights. City police on bikes, city police standing around everywhere you look, on every corner of downtown. Protesters, as been mentioned, have maintained peace throughout the day, marching through the city streets saying, "Don't shoot," saying Black Lives Matter. And again, reiterating George Floyd's name so we never forget, so we pay attention to the injustices and inequalities they have faced for decades. Now, this is as close of an interaction we've seen, just a protester standing a couple of feet away. But I want to mention that pepper fogger was deployed earlier today. If we can bring up the video right now, I was having a coughing fit along with several others surrounding me. I was not directly sprayed, but several people were inadvertently sprayed, and you can even see right there, you just saw it, that an officer was having a coughing fit while he was holding the pepper spray. So you even saw officers coughing and having a reaction to their own deployed spray. Now, I want to take a moment to bring you back a couple of hours. This is what's going on right now. We're hearing chants here and there. 1 second, the chants are going for 5 minutes, and then it's peaceful, then it's silent. But I want to take you to about 2 hours ago when we were by the Guilford County Courthouse, because we've been doing laps around downtown Greensboro, walking miles, following these protesters. They stood at the Guilford County Courthouse, holding up their signs, talking to the crowds, and we had a moment of silence for 9 minutes. And 9 minutes is a significant number because that's how long prosecutors say George Floyd was down on the ground and he was restrained, and for 3 minutes he was unconscious at the hands and at the knee of a white police officer. So for 9 whole minutes they stood in silence, they raised their arms above their head and just looked at each other, held up their signs, and stood in solidarity. So those fiery scenes that you're seeing playing out on your TV screens and when you scroll on Facebook, that's not happening here in Greensboro. Within the past half hour, within the past hour, I should say, I've had a rock thrown at me. Several people were throwing rocks. Several people were throwing water bottles. At one point, we all got up and ran toward the train tracks. But we haven't seen violence beyond that. We haven't seen anything beyond the pepper fogger that was deployed, and I do have to confirm that with Greensboro Police, but I could tell from my own scratched throat what it was. And right now, there is chants to the left of me saying no justice, no peace. And that was what this event was called tonight. No justice, no peace, no racist police. And we have team coverage tonight, and this is still unfolding. The event was supposed to end at 9:30, but this could go well into the overnight hours. Ben?
9 minutes was really powerful. And I did talk with City Council member Goldie Wells earlier tonight, and she said this demonstration makes her even more committed to making sure that there's a good relationship between the police department and the public. So it is having an impact, this peaceful demonstration, except for those few minutes there. We also know that W4 News 2's Adore Achumba is in the crowd. You hear some yelling right there. Adore, what side of the action are you on, and what are you seeing?
All right, so I'm still here in the center here at the intersection. I have MLK Drive on my left side, and I've got Bernhardt on my right side. Behind me is Elm Street northbound, and right here you can see the sheriff's deputies have flanked a wall here. Moments ago, there were hundreds of protesters in front of them, seated on the ground here, facing off this wall of sheriff deputies. Before that happened, there was a chaotic scene over here. We had tear gas and rocks thrown at us. Many people coughing because they couldn't breathe, and we had to find some water to help aid our breathing as well. But right now we see some of the protesters walking that way towards the MLK area, where you have another, actually it's more like a triangular line, a triangle that is formed of the officers creating a wall over there. We're seeing some protesters kind of walking towards a path there that they have created for them. Just going out there, some of them speaking out passionately, yelling at the police officers and the sheriff deputies here, expressing their anger. Again, like Jessica said, the reason all of this is happening is George Floyd, the man that was killed in Minneapolis. That video had gone viral showing the police officer's knee on that man, and he died from that situation. And it's caused some of these people to be enraged, and passions built up, not just here in the Triad, but across the country. And that is what has culminated in this protest over here. Right now, you can hear them. They're expressing themselves very angrily and upset about what has happened. We did see a moment here, like I said, of these protesters facing off with the police officers and the deputies, almost standing off against the wall that they had created and almost pushing them. The police officers not wanting to lose ground, so we sort of like created a hexagon right here in this intersection here. It's like a four-corner intersection, a four-cross street intersection that we've created a hexagon here with the police flanking walls all around us and the protesters on either side of those walls that are created by the police officers. Again, it's a very fluid situation. We're going to stay here and keep watching as we see activity happening all around us, and we're going to send it back to you guys at the studio. Again, we're still here in downtown Greensboro, where the protesters have converged from different sides, facing off with law enforcement officers right now in downtown Greensboro.
Adore is right. This is very fluid. We have teams all over the area. I do want to say, though, that we really need to focus on the fact that most of this day was extremely peaceful, and it looks like it is getting back to the peaceful moment right now, according to Adore. We did see demonstrators stand there silently looking at police, holding their hands up, trying to get their message across at that barrier line that she was talking about. We do have Aitanise McMiller on the other side. Aitanise, what's it like over there?
Where I am, where South Elm crosses the train tracks, you can see that there are officers blocking off this area. Earlier, there were protesters who were literally nearly neck and neck with some of these officers. They have started to disperse. You can see that they've started to scoot back a little bit to give the officers a little bit of space. So, like you said, the protest has continued to stay peaceful. It did get a little rowdy earlier, but as you can hear, it's very quiet right now. But earlier, I'm going to show you some video from earlier where the interstate was actually blocked off. There were protesters on the actual bridge on the interstate, as well as underneath Gate City Boulevard. There were hundreds of protesters. Greensboro police blocked off the ramp for folks, to keep folks from getting on the interstate, so that protesters could continue to peacefully protest throughout the day. Again, this has been going on since noon. They have been making their way downtown Greensboro. They went onto the interstate, and now they are back downtown. We actually have some officers that are blocking off the roads. I'm hearing some folks on the intercom right now, or a blowhorn giving some instructions for some of the protesters. There's officers that are in all corners, all four sections of downtown Greensboro near the train tracks, like I said, off of South Elm Street. But they've been out here all day. Again, it's been peaceful throughout the entire day. And we're going to continue to stay out here. Again, the organizers tell me that this is what this was meant to be, a peaceful protest throughout the day. And so far it has been that. We've got officers just standing here blocking off some of the road. But right now it's pretty peaceful. They are starting to chant again George Floyd's name as well. They are starting to chant George Floyd's name, no justice, no peace. That has been echoed throughout the entire day. And some of the protesters are starting to come back and gather as well. And you can hear some of the folks saying that they're going to continue to walk further down Elm Street, because right now they are blocked off, so they aren't able to walk any further down. They're blocking off the railroad tracks, so some of these protesters are trying to figure out where it is that they can continue to walk next. Of course, we're going to continue to follow these protesters as they make their way downtown.
Thank you, Itanise. There's a whole lot going on right now, and I just want to take a second for us to all let this sink in. You don't see this every day. On I-40, it was shut down. No cars going either way, as the demonstrators actually sat in the middle of the street and held up traffic to get their point across. You just saw them talking to the police officers face to face, trying to get their point across too. This is about spreading the message that something needs to change. There's a whole lot of people in our community, from the looks of this, that feel like that message needs to get across tonight, and some of them have been talking with Jess Winters.
Ben, that's right. Not much has changed since you last checked in about 5 minutes ago. We have a couple more protesters holding up signs beside me. If you can show them, Sean. It says, "I can't breathe, is my brother next?" So those are very powerful signs. Now, some chants are going on. We still have Greensboro police officers in riot gear with their shields. We also have the Guilford County Sheriff's Office, their riot team out here. We have police officers with bikes acting as barriers, and some protesters are confronting the police officers, but this has remained peaceful throughout the day and now throughout the night, minus a few rocks thrown earlier, water bottles thrown, and then pepper fogger was deployed momentarily, and that was about an hour ago. So I do want to take you to moments about an hour ago downtown by the Civil Rights Center and Museum. The glass was shattered. One of the panels was shattered, and it said glass shattered on it. It was taped up by then, and I tried to get in touch with Greensboro police to ask, do they have a perpetrator at this time? Do they know who did it? When we walked up there, protesters were in front of there, and they said, "We didn't do this. This was not our people. We've been out here since noon. We did not do this." And they kept chanting that. It sounds like there are heavy screams going on behind me, so let's check out what that is. And people are walking towards Martin Luther King Boulevard. We're on South Elm right now, but people are running and walking towards Martin Luther King Jr. Drive. A lot of people are shouting. We don't know what's happening. I'm trying to get a closer vantage point. Sean, follow me. Okay, it looks like the direction is pointed at this parking lot here, and I did just hear a noise. that sounded like some sort of pepper bullet. I cannot confirm, and I only report the facts, but I can tell you it did sound like some sort of pepper bullet. There's a lot of movement going around. It's a little bit chaotic down here. This is unfolding right before our eyes, folks, so give it a second. Everyone has their phone up recording this. This is a moment in history that everyone is capturing. Greensboro police are saying move.
All right, so we're right here. You can see the police officers now forming and trying to push off the protesters going southwards on Elm Street. All of this is happening right now. The police trying to gain ground on all sides that we are around. And we've also got some protesters hitting at cars as well, and that's what kind of started this line of officers to push on towards the southbound, just going that way. You also have somebody on the bullhorn. All right, right behind here, right here. There's something happening over there. We can see a face up. That's some pepper spray there, some tear gas and pepper spray dispersing the crowd right there. All right, right over here as well. Guys, like I said, this is a fluid situation. We have officers moving down towards the rowdiness over there, right where the camera is, and you can just kind of follow with us as we are also watching all of this unfolding as the protesters kind of like dispersed once that the pepper spray was pulled out there. Again, this is happening right now in downtown Greensboro on Elm Street. The officers, again, the protesters facing off against the officers, they've kind of gained some ground from that hexagon that I told you about. All around us now here. We've got some business over here. The glass was broken. You can see the business owners already trying to clean up right now. Not far away from us, some cars with their windshields smashed in. Again, the officers have gained some ground here on South Elm Street, and they've pushed the protesters back that way. Just once the rowdiness happened, we still have the line of sheriff's deputies that's kind of still positioned right there at the train tracks, just as these folks here behind me, again, they're facing off right there, gotten closer with some of the protesters up front now, just maybe having a conversation and calming them. So we're going to walk up now to just kind of observe what is happening. We've got these officers all lined up all the way, some protesters there with their hands up. We did have a sign here moments ago that had the names of those individuals that I mentioned earlier: George Floyd, Ahmaud Arbery, Breonna Taylor. Just some of those people that have been killed with some brutal force from police. Which is sort of like inspired this march that you've seen here, alongside all the other marches that are happening across the country. Now, bringing it back here to the Triad, they had marched up and down Elm Street, and it was pretty calm and peaceful all day, as I mentioned to you. Now the train tracks are closing up behind us. We've got some protesters have kind of cleared off of the train tracks, as the train tracks are moving. The train approaching here, you can see. We can see the train track rail hand signals coming down right there with the sheriff's deputies just standing and flanked off with their riot gear. And moving over, we've got this gentleman here who had his window at his salon busted out here, trying to clean it up here. Just one of the fallouts of what is going on. Some of the local businesses that will have property damage, as well as car owners who are here in downtown. Some of their windows have busted. I've seen two vehicles that has happened to. Again, the train is approaching. It's kind of dispersed a group of protesters that were once sitting on the train tracks. The hands are going back up right now. So we are still here. Again, the police officers gained ground here on South Elm Street, pushing back the protesters. And we're going to stick around here as this story develops.
So I want to point out one of the things you saw in that video where the protesters throwing their hands up. Whenever things have gotten really a little tense out there. That seems to be a strategy they've been using to calm things back down. So if you see a lot of hands up, that's probably what just happened. Something kind of tense happened, and then they're trying to calm it down. Jess Winters has a look at some of the more of what's going on out there. Jess, have you seen any of these windows broken out?
Hey Ben, did you just ask me about the windows being broken out? Is that what you just asked?
I did. Have you seen any?
Okay, yes, I'm.
Can we get an innocent victim?
Okay, so yes, I have. I did see one window broken out at the International Civil Rights Center and Museum, but I talked to a crowd out there and they were chanting, "We did not do this, our people did not do this, we've been out here since noon. We did not do this." We've tried reaching out to Greensboro police and asking if they have any suspects, if they have any witnesses, and we haven't heard back yet. But there is one window panel at the International Civil Rights Center and Museum. I apologize if it's hard to hear me right now. A train is going through, and it's brought this protest to a halt for the next several minutes. But let me take you to a scene that played out a couple of minutes ago. My crew and I, we had to run. Everyone started running toward Martin Luther King Jr. And as someone was jumping on this red sedan right here, and you can see the shattered glass, and police officers did intervene. We were all pushed back. We were all running. We didn't know what was going on. But there has been some vandalism in downtown Greensboro tonight. We witnessed it with our own eyes, and a GPD officer did deploy pepper spray. I saw it. We all ran because we know the adverse effects of pepper spray, and we didn't want to be anywhere near it. Then protesters started inching back. But when I do talk about this shattered glass, I do want to mention, yes, one person was jumping on this car, and the rest of the protesters out here were trying to get him down, saying, "This is not the way we do it. This is not the way we protest," trying to be peacemakers. I was just talking to a young lady who said, "I did everything I could, but I didn't want to put myself in a violent situation." And people were upset with the person who did this. They were upset and said, "Leave. This is not how we're protesting in downtown Greensboro." The day we at WFMY have been out here since 1 p.m. The day has been predominantly peaceful. We've been walking for miles with marchers. They obtained permits. A lot of cities across America cannot say that their protesters obtained permits. And they have been doing loops around downtown Greensboro, going from police headquarters to Davie Street and Friendly, and just going all around downtown Greensboro. So much police presence out here tonight. We have about 50 cop cars flashing their red and blue lights. We're moving toward the center, and the train has just passed through, so hopefully you can hear me better now, and I don't have to scream because I am losing my voice from the pepper fogger. But so many people tried to stop that one person, I do want to say, right here on the car. I'm looking at one young lady that I was speaking to who was very upset about it. And the chants have stopped for the time being. A lot of people are being peaceful, holding up their signs, talking to each other. A lot of people out here wearing masks. I know we're in the middle of a global pandemic. A lot of people are conscious of that and are wearing masks and have been all day, even in the brutal heat, walking for miles, just screaming Black Lives Matter, no justice, no peace, no racist police. There are confrontations still happening between the Guilford County Sheriff's Office deputies in their riot gear, probably 50 yards away. But for the most part, things are quieting down, and I do see a crowd behind me that are walking further down South Elm. And this is the parking lot as well, if Sean's looking at the parking lot, Sean. This is where some people were jumping on some vehicles, and that's when police officers intervened, and there's a line of them that formed with their shields in the parking lot for that very reason. Yes, some people are looking at the car right now and some of the damage. So this is the only property damage we have seen of the night other than the International Civil Rights Center and Museum, and we don't have any confirmation on suspects or who potentially vandalized it. Ben?
Jessica, I think you hit on something really specific there. They said this is not the way we do it in Greensboro. I will tell you that it has been a mostly peaceful day, and a few hours ago I started noticing on social media all these posts saying, "Come to Greensboro, it's about to get big, come to Greensboro," from all over the state. We do not know if these people who did the vandalism, that one person on the cars, was from out of town, but we do know that it does appear some people are here from out of town. So we want to go to Itanese McMiller to find out what she is seeing on the ground. Itanese, how are you out there?
Well, right now it's really peaceful over here. We're actually on the opposite side of the tracks as Adore and Jess right now. It's really peaceful. There are still officers right now lining the train tracks in their riot gear, but there's no commotion going on right now. It's very peaceful, as I said. It's very quiet on this side of the train tracks. I actually heard some of the protesters saying, hey, we're not doing what they're doing across the street. We're keeping it peaceful over here. So they're still trying to spread the message to keep it peaceful throughout the protest. And we actually have a row. I'm going to show you just how many police officers we have out here. We have a high police presence. You can see those cruiser lights far in the distance along Elm Street. And protesters, you can see, are starting to walk away on this side of the train track. So some of them are starting to disperse. Some of them are on the other side of the train tracks where Jess and Adore are. But right now you can hear it's quiet. There's not much going on. Officers are staying where they have been this entire time. This protest has been going on all day. Like we've said, it's been, for the most part, pretty peaceful. People are just here trying to spread a message to come together, to stand up against injustice. And we're just going to continue to pan and show a little bit more of the crowd as well. As you can see, there's a good distance between the protesters and the police department. They're keeping their distance. They're staying calm. So it's really been peaceful for the most part. I haven't seen any commotion. I haven't seen folks getting too rowdy on this side of the train tracks. Of course, a large police presence to make sure things stay calm. Organizers say, of course, this is meant to be a peaceful protest. And when I spoke to the deputy chief of the Greensboro Police Department, they said that they don't want this to turn into anything either. They're just here to make sure that things do stay peaceful and to aid in protesters being able to continue to walk throughout downtown. And of course, they were at Westgate City Boulevard earlier, so they've just been out here just trying to monitor the situation and keep things peaceful. Of course, we'll continue to stay out here and keep you updated as the protest continues throughout the night.
Now, I've been here in the studio texting some of our city leaders about what's going on. I just got a message from Goldie Wells. She's a councilwoman. She says it is time for them to go home. I think these are people from someplace else that is causing the problems. I do want to point out she is someone who said that this demonstration actually swayed her to continue fighting for better relationships between police and the public. And now she, who has been swayed by it, is saying, okay, we got the point. It's time to go home. We have Adore Achumba out there in downtown. Adore, what's it like where you are?
All right, again, we're still here on Elm Street, sound side of Elm Street. We've gained some ground. You can see right here behind me the police officers. Now, this scene is calm. You have the protesters just talking to the police officers. They're speaking at them, expressing themselves. Again, lots of passion going on here. Moments ago, we had some chaotic situation that sort of like gave the officers impetus to kind of push back and gain ground. Now you've seen the group of protesters have converged right over there. There's a parking lot on that side. Some vehicle was, windscreen was smashed on that end of that side. We did see a business owner who was sweeping up shard glass from the front of his store that had a rock thrown at the window. Again, the culmination of the protests and the rowdiness that happened here. This protest, again, had started earlier peacefully, but an hour ago, that's when we had the chaotic situation that ensued with all the protesters flanking off against the police officers and the deputies coming from different ends and converging at sort of like a hexagon, like a cross street here, Elm Street, MLK, Bernhard, and converge in this area. Now the space, this little circle, has kind of expanded as the officers pushed off to the left and to the right of me here. And they stopped over here where they're having you have some of the protesters speaking at the police officers. And we're going to come a little closer just so that you can hear what they're saying here. And you can see them, the police officers there with their shields and their riot gear facing off. You can see the protesters right up face to face with these officers here. This side of the group has been peaceful for the last hour here, just really standing up against the officers here. Now, it is my understanding that these are different groups of protesters that kind of converge over here. We have some of the community activists who did speak to us and said that these are different groups and not all the same. And as you heard earlier there, that the council members called that these folks need to go home. Again, the official end of the protest was supposed to end around 9 or 9:30, but we've seen this kind of flow over into this, where we are having this face-off with the officers and the deputy. Again, there's little rowdy over there. You can see the protesters coming really close up with the police officers, and they formed a shield, a wall over there, and kind of like pushing off again so that there's a pathway walking over there where the protesters are following up to get to the front of the line and meet up with this other group here. Again, impassioned speakers speaking up at the police officers, expressing themselves. Again, the culmination of all of this, because of that incident that happened in Minneapolis with George Floyd. And a lot of these people that have been walking around us, saying that, Black Lives Matter, I can't breathe, some of those words that you heard that Floyd was speaking out in that video. And then also just carrying out the names of the other individuals who have died at the hands of police officers. They're very angry and impassioned about that. And you can hear and see them behind me as they are speaking at the police officers, some of them having conversations with the police officers. Again, this is a very fluid situation as we keep moving and expanding. We're sort of like staying in this little hexagon. Like I said, it was a circle initially, but now it's sort of like a hexagon that is kind of like expanding with its point and peak over on that side, where you see a body of protesters all on that side. And we're going to stay here again as this situation develops. Live in downtown Greensboro, Adore Achumba.
That is what it's all about, building a dialogue between police and the demonstrators, as Jess Winters has seen today.
Ben, good evening once again. We've just been pushed back by police. They're saying move, move, as using their shields and bikes as barriers, but also the organizer of this No Justice, No Peace march is also telling us to move back. He's working in congruence with city police and also the Guilford County Sheriff's Office. There was an altercation going on to my left, Sean, if you can pan over, between police and a protester, and right behind the line of shields is the sedan that was jumped on. Okay, don't show that, don't show that. I'm sorry, there might be explicit language. But there's the sedan that was jumped on, and we did learn that it was one of the protesters' cars who was vandalized. But I do want to say that this has been a predominantly peaceful night, and a lot of these protesters are saying don't let the actions of one rip away the message of the night, which is the inequalities we've been facing, the injustices we've been facing has to stop. Jess Winters live in Greensboro on this historical night.
That is the big takeaway from today, is that it has been extremely peaceful so far, but they do know that they need to get your attention because it's a very serious topic that they're trying to get you to talk about. So we're seeing tonight some intense action out there in Greensboro. We're going to continue our coverage live on Facebook. All you have to do is go to WFMYnews2.com. We will see you over there. And take away, it has been a peaceful protest except for a few minutes.
WFMY News 2 at 11 is brought to you by Cox Toyota in Burlington. Take a test drive and you could win $1,000. So before you buy, give Cox a try.
Guys, if you're just joining us from the TV reporting here, we've got teams all across downtown Greensboro right now. Let's get back out to Adore Achumba, where the latest is unfolding.
All right, so we are still at the same position that we are in. Now the protesters have locked arms as they line up against the police officers, but behind them, the situation's a little dicey because we heard some people breaking glass from the businesses on that side. Again, that's different from what is happening up on this line here, where you have the officers, the protesters in front of the police officers with their arms locked, again, holding the signs and expressing themselves, having that young lady there speaking passionately about what is going on. We're going to go closer and take a listen to what she's saying. middle of the street. Trey Mel Lucas, who you tased in the backyard of his mother's home, who was not running or resisting. All right, so you have that young lady expressing herself here as they're standing up against the police officers in their tactical gear, the protesters with their arms locked. Behind them, though, we heard some rock throwing and glass being broken. We presume it's the businesses on that side of the street, since we're on this side, behind this wall of police officers. Again, on this side here to my right, and you have another wall of police cars and sheriff deputies are still maintaining that wall that we were over there at not too long ago. They're maintaining that wall over there. And also on that side, going towards MLK, you have another wall of officers facing off against the protesters on that end. Like I described to you, this is sort of like a hexagon that has formed around us at this intersection, this cross street here. We've got four cross street here with the train tracks meeting up here. And this is sort of where all this event is happening. And you can see the different groups here facing off the officers in a different manner. Some of them calm, some of them, the other group breaking things on that end. We're sort of like in the center here, sort of like in a circle, watching all the different ends of what is happening here in downtown Greensboro. Again, different groups of protesters, sort of like, we counted some of the groups there, about 500 that I counted. Again, they're spreading out and they're growing. They've probably grown into the thousands. I can't see as far back over that way, but there's a lot of protesters on that side of the police wall there, with the law enforcement officers standing up against them there, facing off. And then right back behind me, going towards northbound Elm Street, you also have another group of protesters flanked off against sheriff deputies. And we can hear back over on this side, again, past this wall of protesters and police officers. We're going to try to walk around the wall to the end to get to the other. Okay, we're not. We're going to be at this end so that you can see what's happening on that side. And you can hear the protesters saying, "Stand up, don't shoot." We're just going to take a... We're staying here, but we're going to take a peek from this end to see what is happening on that other side, just kind of staying safely behind this line, this wall of police officers. I can see just basically just some rowdiness going, and I can hear glass being broken on that side. It is obvious what is happening. The protesters on that side are breaking things on that side, as we can hear, but we are not going past this line. The protesters locked arms. So on that side of South Elm, you can hear the glass being broken on that side, and you can hear engine or motorcycle revving going on over on that side. Just that's where the rowdiness is happening. Right here, though, in the center, it's peaceful. You can see this group of protesters locking arms here. This group is the one engaging the police officers peacefully, and behind them, behind that line, is where you have the rowdiness that's going, and we can hear the glass being broken from this point that we're standing behind the wall of police officers. So we're taking a look at that. So you see the protesters there expressing themselves. Again, the purpose that they're here, they have said to me several times, as well as expressing with their cards, that they're here peacefully, holding their sign. One sign there says Black Lives Matters. The young lady in the center speaking to them, that sign up there says, "Justice for George Floyd, I can't breathe, and Black Lives Matter." Again, they're drawing attention to their peaceful demonstration here. This group, again, I emphasize, has been most of this evening peaceful, formed their locked arms over here. But what is happening behind them, of course, we have to speak about that, is that vandalism that is happening on that side. Again, you know, different ways that people are expressing themselves in this protest. You have some group here peaceful, and you have another group that is participating in the vandalism that's going on over there. So we're staying behind this line here, flanked by the police officers with this group here. And we have different groups all around us here in the hexagon that has sort of like formed at this intersection with the different agencies, the sheriff's deputies on that side facing northbound Elm, and the police officers on this side facing southbound. And you can hear here approaching a vehicle coming here, and there's another group on that side. Like I mentioned, there's something happening over there. We can't really see it clearly, but we just see some activity there and hearing glass breaking and things like that on that side. Again, this is downtown Greensboro. This is happening right here on Elm Street, guys. I'm going to send it right back to you.
Adore, I want to point out that as this is still going on, it looks like it is not dying down anytime soon. There was a little lull in the action there, but I've been over here on my computer looking at social media, and there's a lot of people saying they're headed out there right now. Some bringing milk for the tear gas to help people out. Some who are bringing water and food to people who've been out there all day. It does appear that this thing is going to go on, and we are also seeing posts from people who say they want to come back again tomorrow and demonstrate more. While we're in a little lull here, let's take a second and get you caught up on today. Whew, it has been a lot to take in. So here's what happened. Around 12 this afternoon, an original group met, and they met in front of the Civil Rights Center, and they marched for a couple miles around downtown. Then, at some point, more people started coming, and they had a permit for that, and that was all peaceful and working with police. And at some point, they crossed over onto I-40 at Gate City Boulevard there and actually went down onto the highway and took a knee and sat down on the road. So police had to close down the highway. And now we get to where we are tonight with Denise McMiller. Denise?
Yes, we're back out here live. We are still on Elm Street, right here by the train tracks. The protesters are still out here. There's just more officers. I actually saw more of them being dropped off to come out here to continue to form more of a barricade out here downtown in Greensboro. Again, still pretty peaceful. Not a whole lot of commotion going on. We're going to walk up a little bit more to where some of the protesters are. Some of them are just standing, right in front of the officers, trying to send them.
Okay, it seems like Denise is having some microphone problems out there. As you can imagine, there's a lot going on in the field, and not all the technology is working exactly how it should. So we got to the point where I-40 closed down. And then a couple of hours later, there was another group of protesters that was supposed to meet up. They had a demonstration where for 9 minutes, they asked people to be silent, the same time that police officer kept his knee on the man's neck. And that powerful moment did get through to some of our lawmakers, we confirmed from talking with them earlier tonight. A little bit later, we started seeing some chaos. Not much, just a little, but put in perspective of all the other places around the nation that are seeing issues. We've had in South Carolina, police cars burned. We've had police buildings burned in Brooklyn. In Charlotte, they actually had to declare a state of emergency tonight because they weren't sure what was going to happen. And I'm watching these same protests are happening in all those places again tonight. Jess Winters is here in Greensboro, though, with the very latest.
Hey Ben, I know Denise's live shot cut out and there was some audio issues, but I'm standing a few feet away from her and I have the same vantage point as her, so hopefully I can give you the same information. We're hearing a car revving up on and off behind us, but unfortunately I cannot get any closer. There is a police barrier, as you can see behind me, police officers in tactical gear, deputies in tactical gear, as they have been for the past 2 hours or so. So I can't see whatever commotion is going on over there on South Elm because we're just not able to get to it, but I do see a heavy protest presence over there and also a heavy police presence. And like I said, I cannot tell you what's going on, but I can tell you what's going on this side of things. People are starting to leave. I will say the last 20 minutes have been calmer than it has been in the past hour because this has been a peaceful protest throughout the day and a peaceful march, I should say. There were several marches going on, and it does get quite confusing, but there were 3 going on at the same time, and there were about 100 or 200 people gathered in groups in various locations. I was walking with a crowd on Westgate City Boulevard, and we walked about a mile, and then it eventually ended up on I-40, which Denise McMiller of WFMY News 2 told you about because there was a line of people blocking off the interstate. But I stayed with the group on Westgate, and then there was a group that headed to the Greensboro Police Station, the headquarters. That was around 1 p.m. Then they circled back, went went there again around 7 p.m. We went to the Guilford County Courthouse, and that's where people, as Ben was mentioning moments ago, were standing in solidarity and did hold that moment of silence for 9 minutes, which is very significant to the George Floyd case because that 9 minutes represents how long he was on the ground, unable to breathe, infamously saying, "I can't breathe." That's the sign you'll see more than any other sign out here tonight. And this protest was supposed to end around 9:30 p.m. What time is it now? It's 11:43. So this protest has been going on longer than anticipated, and we don't know when it will end. People are out here standing in solidarity, holding up their signs, and there's no sign of them leaving. Again, I said it did deplete a little bit the crowd, but a lot of people are still out here. I would imagine, if I would guess, in the hundreds of people are out here. You see a lot of people in masks, and you still see police presence, a heavy police presence all around. This is all around South Elm, also MLK, all the way up the street on MLK. There are a line of police cars as well.
Hey,
and then we're with WFMI. We're live right now. I apologize. You're fine. You're fine. You're fine.
That's what live TV is.
Of course.
We just making sure you're not putting out fake news.
I am not putting out fake news, I promise. No, as I was mentioning earlier, there was a car, someone was jumping on a red sedan that's a few feet away from me, but that was just one person. A lot of the protesters out here were upset that they did that and said that's not what this protest is supposed to represent. This is supposed to be unity and love, fighting injustices, fighting inequality, not just in the George Floyd case, but for years, for decades, for centuries. So that's not... That is what it is. It is what it is. It's been a predominantly peaceful protest today. And we've been out here for hours covering it, and now we're at 11:44 and people, hundreds, a crowd still here in downtown Greensboro. Back to you.
I want to point out that people were having conversations with Jessica there while she was live. That's what the whole point is today, to get a dialogue started between each other and our neighbors about this terrible event that happened to our nation. That's happened before. They don't want it to happen again. I will say that we've been monitoring the situation across the rest of the state today too. Large parts of Raleigh highways were also closed off today at some points, and in Charlotte. There's new information breaking out of there right now, according to our sister station. One police officer there has been transported to the hospital after a rock or a water bottle, they're not really sure what it was thrown at his head. That was something we also saw very briefly happen here in Greensboro. Jess was actually there when the rock started being thrown. She had to run for safety. And when she was running, you could see in the video, one of the police officers behind her grab his head. We're not sure if they've been hit or not. We have reached out to Greensboro police to find out, and we will let you know. Right now, it looks like Denise McMiller has got her microphone back up and running again and has more on what's going on with that car noise.
Well, right now we are back out here, and there's a lot of people a lot of chatter starting right now with some of the protesters. It's happening amongst the protesters right now, not more so with the police, but there's a lot of chatter going on. It's a little hard to know what's going on, but we are right here still on Elm Street as protesters are still gathering. There seems to be some spectators just in the background, just kind of standing around trying to see what's going on. There's some protesters up close to some of the officers, but again, we have been out here. Looks like some of them are starting to walk away and a little bit. But I did actually just speak to the original organizer, Anthony Morgan. He was saying that he's no longer out here and that his protest was from noon to 10. So he's saying that there's a different group out here now, and that his protest ended at 10 this morning. And I was with that entire group throughout the day from noon, of course, until now. They were originally at the Civil Rights Museum. They started there at noon. They made their way down Elm Street also, and then they went up to Westgate City Boulevard as well. And they did that, several times, up and down. And then as the night went on, now you can see that there's just a lot of people who are dispersed throughout Elm Street on both sides of the train tracks. Large police presence, lots of people out here. There's starting to heavy commotion on this section of the train tracks. It's a little hard to hear what's going on, but like we've said, it's been peaceful for the most part throughout the day. We're going to continue to bring you updates. Again, this has been going on all day. The police department, I spoke to them earlier, and they were saying that the chief told me that, you know, what happened with George Floyd was not right, and that they are here to support the protesters. So they're going to continue to be out here and try to do so throughout the night.
Thank you so much for your updates out there. I want to point out that all of our crews do have security with them. We want to make sure that everyone is safe in bringing you this story. Also, again, this is a live feed. There will be some language from time to time that we just can't control. We are sorry for dealing with that. But if you would like to see edited versions without that language, you can go over to WFMYnews2.com and check out the stories we've got there. One note here. It has been a peaceful day for the most part. About an hour ago, things started changing. The original protest organizer says she doesn't think that this is the same group of people that are behind the chaos that's out there. But again, even that chaos that's out there is just a few limited people. Most who are out there we've seen are trying to talk with police officers, have conversations about what's going on with people. And we do know that many of them have tried to approach our crews to talk about their opinions too. It is an ongoing dialogue, and that is the point of today's demonstration. Think about this. Before this, the big story of the news day was going to be what? Ace Speedway and all those people who went out there during coronavirus? We haven't mentioned that today. This has taken over the narrative of Greensboro with the demonstration today, and that is exactly what the demonstrators wanted. I'm hoping we can get to one of our other reporters out there in the field to give you more of this live picture. It's so gripping right now. I'm sorry, are we going back to Jess, did I hear? Okay, I'm sorry, we're trying to figure out who's out there that can take their picture right now because so much is going on. We're gonna head to Doria Chumba next.
All right, guys, we're still here on Elm Street. Now the same group of protesters that I was with moments ago, right behind me there, they're now seated. This is a group that has been peaceful most of this evening in the last hour since some chaos erupted on this side. And you can see them right there expressing themselves, about 50 of them seated down right there, flanking the police officers who are formed this line of shield, creating this wall against these protesters. Now, this is a similar scene, at least somewhat similar, with the line of police officers all around us here, up onto the train tracks where you have the sheriff deputies. They have not moved from their position. That wall is still maintained its stand on that side. But to their right, you see a line of police cars with the blue lights. Farther down from that side, to going towards MLK Drive, is another wall of police, actually two walls of police flanked over there, creating that barrier against the protesters who are on the other side of their line. Now behind us, somewhere in the distance down South Elm Street, we did hear glass being broken. We can't cross that side. Again, there's no security on that end, so just to be safe, we're going to stay on this side with the wall of police officers and the peaceful protesters here. But we did hear in the distance on South Elm, glass being broken, and we presume that is the windows of some of the businesses here being shattered. We did hear some rowdiness going on over there, but the focus again is back to these peaceful protesters on this side who have emphasized that they're being peaceful and not engaging. I did hear the young lady saying and warning sternly, do not engage, as some passion was being fled up here. And she's pretty been speaking passionately about what is going on and why they are here and why they picked, why they are doing this. Again, this march has been peaceful throughout the day, as you said, up until about 2 hours ago. Some of the protesters had marched to the International Civil Rights Center at the Woolworths storefront there, which was the location of very momentous protests that occurred years back, the height of the civil rights era there. And that was significant for these protesters, the peaceful ones, to stop here. And of course, they've been marching up and down Elm Street here. And down on the other side, like I mentioned, is another group who can hear some vandalism going on over there that must emphasize that it is on that side, but not this group here that has sat down on the street here, engaging and having conversation and expressing themselves. Earlier, we had tear gas and rocks also being thrown when there was a little moment of rowdiness that happened right at the train track. So a lot of this has sort of culminated right here in this sort of like a hexagon that has formed around the train tracks here, with the officers and the deputies flanking it again. So again, this is a developing situation. It's very fluid. I can hear in the distance there some conversation also going on over there, engaging the deputies there. But the deputies have not given their ground yet. They have been in that position there for the last hour and a half. That has not changed. We did see from the other side of the train tracks, there's another group of protesters that were coming up and closing in on here, but we did see the officers pushing back against them. And also, I can hear some bullhorns right now going on the other side towards MLK. That's where there's another cluster there of protesters. Also, looks like they have somebody on a soapbox on that side is speaking and is getting the attention of the protesters because they're all clustered over there and look to be listening, rapt attention at what is happening on that side. Again, this is just a very developing situation, a very fluid situation. Things are changing as we're going, as different groups of protesters converging here. Now, I did speak to a police officer, and again, there's no we do know from the people that we've talked to that these are different groups of protesters that have converged here and sort of like come together. It's not clear if that was the plan for the protest to sort of like go off in splinter groups and sort of like engage the officers at different groups there. But what we can see right now is that we've got on different sides of this cross intersection here in downtown Greensboro, different groups of protesters. Some of them peaceful, like this one here sitting on the ground there, engaging the attention of the police officers on this side. And then we have another group also on the other side, engaging the officers there. And further down on the north side of Elm Street, you can see police lights further back down over there. Some other activity happening on that side as well. So the police, of course, busy tonight because, you know, this is a very active situation that's going on. We're going to stay here in downtown Greensboro and sort of like monitor this developing story right here as the protesters converge in downtown Greensboro. Again, protesting police brutality, injustice. Their signs say it all: Black Lives Matter, no justice, no peace, I can't breathe. Again, some of the chants that they have been speaking and chanting, phrases they've been chanting as they've been walking and up and down Elm Street here in downtown Greensboro.
So I've been texting with some of our city leaders tonight as this has been developing. They told me that they have all been on phone calls pretty much all evening long trying to figure out what to do, what the plan is, and what to do when this thing goes on, because it's going to go on tonight. We do know from social media that more people seem to be headed out there. It seems like things are calming down at the moment though, so we will keep our crews all across downtown for you, like Itanise McMiller. What are you seeing?
Well, Ben, things have been calm, but it seems as though things are starting to pick back up. A group of protesters are starting to make their way down the road here. We're still near Elm Street and McGee Street. Excuse me. We are going to continue to walk with some of these protesters as they make their way down the road. They were, like you said, they're still peaceful. They were just stagnant for some time. Now they're back on the move, walking down the road here, trying to continue to protest. One of the organizers was saying, hey, we want to protest, we want to walk, let's start back doing that. So that is what they are doing right now. I'm going to pan so that you can see the group of people walking down. This is Arlington and Martin Luther King. Protesters are walking down here, and they are putting their signs up as well. Some of them are of course, recording, but they are back on the move. Again, they have been doing this throughout the day. It's a mix of people, somewhat of a different group from this morning. The protest started at noon, They're still going strong. I believe it's almost midnight now. It probably is midnight. We've been out here. It's been an extremely long day, somewhat exhausting because we have been walking with these protesters, following them throughout the day. A lot of the organizers who started the protest earlier say that this was meant to be a peaceful protest and want people to remember the mission is to come together and not to make this a ploy for social media, but to also come together and stand together with George Floyd and other people who have dealt with different injustices throughout the country. Of course, these protests have been happening throughout the country and they've made their way to Greensboro. Throughout the day, it's been pretty peaceful. Of course, we've heard of a little bit of vandalism, but for the most part, it has been a peaceful protest. The Greensboro Police Department has said that they are working with the protesters to make sure that they are able to continue to walk throughout the city of Greensboro. They have been blocking off roads to make sure that they have been able to walk and protest throughout the day, make sure that they remain safe throughout the day. They shut down the interstate. They shut down Interstate 40 so that protesters can get on the bridge and protest peacefully. They were under the bridge as well. They were there for almost an hour or so. So it's been going strong throughout the day. They're continuing to go strong. We're going to continue to walk down the street to stay with some of the protesters.
Arlington Street.
We're on Arlington. We're going to continue to walk down here, but like I said, it has been an extremely long day.
You've been doing a great job out there for that extremely long day. Keep staying safe because you are bringing very valuable information to people about what's going on tonight. There is clearly a lot of interest about this. There are still more than 1,700 people on this Facebook feed. It has stayed pretty steady all night long. I will tell you right now, I'm trying to go through social media, finding videos posted from that scene today. If you have one or you have pictures, you were down there, you saw something, let us know. Please leave it in the comments here, or you can just email it straight to news@wfmy.com. Tell us where you saw it. One video I was looking at right now was from a member of a newspaper, and they were trying to get video of police and the crowd, and the police were keeping the crowd off the steps of the downtown police department. And the media person walked around to get a back shot, and the people in the crowd started going crazy about why he was allowed to get back there and not them. The police did not respond other than to ask the media person to get back around. It's videos like that we want to see, moments from today that you might have captured. You can also submit them straight through our WFMY News 2 app. Right now, though, we need to update you on the most important part, what is happening at the moment. We have Adoria Chumba out there in downtown with a live look.
All right, guys, we're still here again up against that same line, and there's some sort of like an argument going on between two of the people here. Not clear what is happening, but this group still sitting on the floor over here, flanked against that wall of police officers. We're going to go a little closer to kind of understand what is happening here. From our understanding, these are different groups of protesters converging here in downtown Greensboro. We've been with them several hours right now since we got here. Pretty much understand that different groups of kind of like converging from different sides of Elm Street here and converge at the train tracks here in downtown Greensboro. Some of them here sitting down. This group had their arms locked initially, and they have sat down on the ground, and more police officers moving in here behind me. And I can hear they're speaking again, they're rising up and they're locking arms as police officers return to flank and take position to create a second line. You can see that second line there almost forming to complete with the protesters. You can see now they've turned their backs and they're walking again towards, still going towards the south side of Elm Street here, and walking away from the line of officers. And here the officers look like they're going to, they appear like they're going to try to gain more ground here or stand firm in their position as the protesters walk away towards the other side of South Elm Street, where I did tell you that I did hear some glass being broken on that side. And then you still have on my right end as well, the police officers and the deputies still maintaining their position over there. This is sort of where the protest has sort of like converged. And this is where the climax is happening in this protest, as the group of protesters that was once locked in arms over here in front of this line of police officers are walking away towards the southern side of Elm Street, walking away from the line of police, going to another location. And we can hear and understand what the officer is saying here. As the former line here, again, we're right behind this line, flanked, and they're just moving towards where that is happening. You can see the officers again getting ground, and we can hear some banging. I can hear some banging going on. I can assume that's some kind of destruction and vandalism going on. I can hear revving as well as we walk behind this line of police officers here with the bikes and their plastic shields as well, walking towards the protesters that just once were peaceful and seated on the ground, locked in arms, but they just suddenly arose and walked away towards the southernmost side of Elm Street. Again, the police officers now moving more ground. They have stopped their position right here, the 500 right across 517 here on South Elm Street. If you're familiar with the downtown area here, again, pushing up with the protesters have walked further down. Again, I can't quite see the cross street on that side, but they've moved further down over there with the traffic lights. There's some cars up against that, and the protesters move back that way. Again, this line is the one that's continuously gained ground as the protests converge right here at the intersection cross street with the train tracks on MLK. This position of officers kind of gained more ground, moving away from the train tracks and moving back towards the southern side of Elm Street here. Again, we can hear in the distance something going on there, some revving. You can see the officers trying to push back to get closer to what is happening on that side. You can see some protesters returning from that side. They're telling them to go back. Those protesters will not cross the center line. You can see them going back that way, going to have to find a different way to get to where they're going. On that side, another group of protesters walking away that way. But we're staying right here behind the line of police officers here. Again, moving up towards, now we're in front of 520 Elm Street here. In front of the CTG, the theater, the Star Theater building is where the officers have positioned. Again, they've gained some ground and pushed back the protesters. And right in front here, the Brooch Company, this is what I was talking about. This is what we were hearing. The glass here being broken, that plasma TV, somebody was just banging on that. That was some of the noise that we heard earlier that I was telling you about when we're further down, that we could hear the sound going on here. So again, we can still hear as we're building up on Elm Street, things being broken and some banging here from our vantage point. Again, we're going to be right here with this line of police officers on this side. Again, this is a very fluid situation happening in downtown Greensboro as the protesters continue into the night today, protesting what they say is injustice, and we can hear some fireworks just let off right there. Again, this is a very active scene here, and we're going to push it back to you guys here and just kind of get a bearing of what is happening, and then we'll come right back to you guys.
Let's get to Denise McMiller, where something's going on over there.
Well, we were with those protesters not too long ago. We were walking with them, and we were right here, and we could see an SUV ram through a group of protesters right here on East Lewis and South Elm, and now things are starting to pick up because a lot of people were protesting, and this SUV went forward and went backwards, and we're running over protesters. We're going to continue to walk down this way because things are starting to get more rowdy because this vehicle came through, driving through protesters as they were trying to peacefully walk down East Lewis and South Elm Street. We're going to continue to walk down this way. We literally witnessed vehicles driving down this road, hitting groups of protesters. We're going to continue to come down this way. So now folks are starting to get riled up after witnessing something like that. Again, this This has been a peaceful protest throughout the day, but things are starting to get rowdy. Excuse me. I am starting to see some more damage down here on Elm Street. We're going to continue to walk down this way. Lots of shattered glass. This is exactly where there was an SUV. The SUV drove down this road here, and then they drove back up and back again while there were protesters in the street. And now folks are starting to vandalize.
News station.
You can see this restaurant right here, shattered glass. A much different scene from what we've been seeing all day. From noon up until this point, it's been fairly peaceful. Protesters have been peaceful throughout the day. Now that narrative is starting to change after we witnessed a vehicle drive through the intersection here on Elm Street. A lot of the protesters are continuing to walk down. Excuse me. Yes.
Please be careful out there. Get that security guard looking after your back there. I just want to make sure that I heard you correctly. That car actually hit some of the protesters? Any idea how many, and are those protesters okay?
Yes, we haven't seen any protesters hurt. We have been hearing some of the protesters walking down the street. They're saying that no one was hurt. We are not sure if that is really the case, but some of them were saying, hey, we saw it happening. Thank God nobody's hurt.
But you actually saw someone get hit?
I saw a car ramming through protesters, yes. Yes. We saw protesters, I saw a group of protesters, and they started dispersing, and the car was going back and forth as these protesters were in the middle of the street, and folks were getting hit, yes.
So I'm monitoring social media here. We're also seeing several reports of what you're talking about out there too, and some other cars that were not SUVs. Hey, let's get you moving and make sure you're okay here. Why is everyone running? Do we know what's going on?
We're trying to figure out, we're seeing some fire. Oh, they're doing tear gas.
That's tear gas.
That's tear gas, excuse me. They're doing tear gas. Folks are starting to disperse it. We are hearing that apparently some cars are starting to be damaged, so they threw tear gas. More tear gas is being thrown. I don't know if you can hear that right now. Folks are starting to disperse.
I would like to go backwards.
Okay, we're gonna
Itanese, please follow the recommendations and move back when you can. So I want to recap. This is another live look from the other side. Look at all that gas as the police are trying to move the crowd out of harm's way. It seems now that some cars are trying to drive through. Again, remember in these situations, police aren't always trying to control the demonstrators and say what they can and can't do. A lot of what they're trying to do is protect everyone on the scene. And so one of the things they're trying to do that they learned from the Charlotte riots a long time ago, a few years ago, is that it's best if you can move everyone to one side of the downtown. So they sweep through just like that in big lines, trying to move everyone over. And it looks like right now, one of the tools to get people to move is that tear gas to try to get them to go back. I want to make sure Itanese is okay before we head back to her, but do we have Jess or Adore? Do they have a view? Adore, what do you know? Look at all those people out there in the tear gas. Adore, it seems like we're trying to get a hold of her right now. It's a whole lot going on. Is there any way we can get...
There's some canister of tear gas just thrown out here. Some activity here. This is the group earlier that we told you about. There's rocks being thrown down here. This it's happening right now here. We've had some canister thrown right now. This just happened right now. On this side, again, we're behind this line. Some people throwing rocks coming down this way. Again, the police officers pushing up against the protesters as they make their way down Elm Street. We're coming up, I think this is Lewis Drive, if I can see the sign up closer. Again, the tear gas position up there. There's rocks coming. We're going to just kind of like move away from here so that the rocks don't come and sort of like see what is happening. We have more police officers coming here on the bikes. As we see the protesters moving further down on South Elm. Again, we're behind the line of police officers at their flank going, looking that way as they're pushing up against the protesters who have dispersed towards the south side of of Elm Street. Now, we did hear businesses, the windows of some of the businesses. I understand a gentleman just told me that the Dudley Beauty School here in downtown has been vandalized, their window broken. We walked up against one of the businesses here that I did show you earlier that had their glass broken as well. Again, things have sort of changed over the last few hours here. What began as a peaceful protest, now suddenly we have it dispersed and down the road becoming quite no longer peaceful, in the sense that we're having some vandalism happening here. We've had tear gas, we've had rocks being thrown as well. But right now we're behind this line here. You see there's a car. You had the car positioned up against the traffic light over there. And the police officers, again, they're going to try to gain some more ground here on South and push up against the protesters as they're moving further down on South. And we're going to follow them as we're standing behind again as the circle expands. We have a different group that's engaged, the deputies on that side. And we see here some folks here cleaning up as well. Had some business was able to lock up there. So again, this is developing. We see windows smashed at that business as well. And on this side, what I was telling you, I was hearing glass being smashed. This was what that sound was over here. You can see the glass on that side that was broken out of that business. We are approaching West Lewis Street here as it crosses Elm. That business there was looted, glasses there broken, the show glass broken as well. Again, as the police officers gain ground and we move up on South, and we're seeing, and it's revealing the damage that has happened here. You can see this big rock. Look at that. This is a rock that was thrown into one of the businesses there. At that corner, you can see the glass broken. We have someone in his business there trying to ward the protesters away. That business didn't get hit, but this one here, we got broken glass over here and on this side as well. Over here you see this business here looted. We have the tear gas that was thrown and of course some of the officers, of course, feeling the effect of the tear gas there. That has happened, and now I can get a draft of it as well. So I'm just going to put this back on here, getting a draft of that. So you can see they've gained ground, South Elm and West Lewis Street here with a line of police officers. You can see the protesters have sort of spread out onto Lewis Street over there, where the officers had to, from the feeling the effects of the tear gas that was thrown there. Some businesses, the business owner here just walked in trying to clean up the window that was broken up. Again, this is a very active situation going on, a lot of activity going on here, and we're going to stay on this and just keep at this here and just kind of understand, again, this is changing and see what is going on. So we'll take it away from here now and go back and sort of see what is happening on that side once we're able to cross around this line of police officers. When they get behind, we're going to get onto Lewis Street to see what has happened on that side. And you can see more protesters have arrived to engage the officers now. This is a violent group that we're telling you about. More officers coming up. As you can see, emotions flaring up here. That officer there feeling the effect of the tear gas that was just put out here. Again, you can see the protesters again up against the police officer. And we can see some more tear gas is put out on that Lewis, and you can feel the weft of it coming here with the draft of breeze that's coming over here and moving over here and affecting those officers. Again, the protesters there that were vandalizing some things on this end, here they spread out further down Elm and up onto West Lewis Street here in downtown Greensboro. We're going to just take a little break here and reassess the situation and position for you guys in a second here. So we'll take it right back to you in the studio.
Okay, there's a couple of things we need to digest from Adore there. First off, she does say that it is a different crowd, different protesters that she hasn't seen before. Also, did you notice that tear gas, how long it held in that big cloud before it dispersed. And still, there were demonstrators who stood there and took it, trying to get their message across. We do know, according to Denise McMiller, that an SUV ran through the crowd just a little while ago and actually hit a few of the protesters. We are working on trying to see if we can find some video of that from social media. I know a lot of you who are watching on Facebook Live right now are actually down there. Did you see it? Did you almost get hit? Do you know what happened? Can you let us know in the comments, please? Actually, right now, we have some new video coming in of this. I want to take it, if we can show you, this video from Twitter. Take a look. This is from Tia's Twitter page. We just need to watch this a couple of times. You watch it, you're speechless, guys. That car trying to get away from the crowd. We don't know what happened leading up to this video. We can't make any conclusions, but we do have this little clip of that SUV swinging around. Can we stay on this for just a second longer? I think people want to see this to be able to digest what's happening here. This SUV trying to get away. You see all the people running in the chaos? That is what Denise McMiller described seeing down there. This video from Tia, we know that there are more clips of this because the one thing that we have learned from this movement is the power of recording things on our phones. We wouldn't have today's demonstration without that video of those 9 minutes that knee was on that neck. If you have video of what's going on down there today, please send it our way. All you have to do is email news@wfmy.com. Also, I know you're watching this. You maybe didn't catch all the news earlier. You have a lot of questions about what's happening right now. We know that this protest, this demonstration is still ongoing. It was supposed to stop at 9:30, but more people have showed up. And right now, police are trying to move them from the side of downtown where Mellow Mushroom is all the way over towards LeBauer Park to help try to control the crowd and keep them safe from that video we just saw there. We have a whole team in downtown right now. I know that they are busy trying to talk to people. They are trying to get you the latest information. Is there anyone who we're able to talk with out there live right now? If not, I want to pull that video up one more time because honestly, I just need to see it again to believe it. Is that possible? Look at this video from Tia of downtown a few minutes ago. We know that Denise McMiller said an SUV went forward and backwards through the crowd and actually hit some of the demonstrators. We don't know that this is that car. We just know that this video is from around that same time in downtown Greensboro. You can see people running for chaos. We also heard WFY News 2's Jess Winters talk about some revving car noises that she heard over and over again. And here's the reason why everyone is so on high alert about this. Because in San Jose yesterday, there was actually a car that ran through some of the protesters and people got seriously injured out there. So police really want to protect the people that are out there trying to make their voices heard right now. That is part of why they're trying to sweep them along through downtown. What do you want to know at this point? We've had so much go on today. Do you have questions about how it started? Do you have questions about what's next? Leave them in the comments. We're going to try to get you answers, not only to have those teams in the field, but we have a whole team of producers back there who are making phone calls, trying to get the latest information. One thing we do know from GPD as of just a little while ago, they emailed that there have been no arrests yet tonight. It will be interesting to see if it stays that way. We do have some vandalism that's starting to happen. Windows knocked out downtown to businesses. We've heard of reports of some people jumping on cars, breaking windshields, but Jess Winters said it best when she witnessed it. She saw some of the demonstrators say, "That's not what we do in Greensboro, please stop." Again, tonight, a Greensboro City Councilwoman, Goldie Wells, is saying, "We hear you, please go home. It's not safe out there right now. And if you are not part of this demonstration, you are actually being asked to stay away from downtown at the moment." We do know that there are some business owners who are in those shops. We've seen the video of them sitting there trying to protect their livelihood. But again, the demonstrators will say, this is about protecting our lives. That for too long, this has been going on. This intense racism, this injustice in our society. And that they've tried being peaceful. We've all seen the memes and the notes on Facebook about how they tried to be peaceful with Colin Kaepernick and that didn't work. And that sometimes you have to turn to violence. There was a woman down in South Carolina who a reporter asked, why are people setting police cars on fire? And she said simply, it's the only way we can be heard. She said that it seemed like to her and other people in the group that law enforcement just doesn't care. That they actually came out and talked to the protesters for a little while eating some McDonald's. She said it was half-hearted, that it just didn't seem like they cared, and that was heartbreaking, and so they had to take that drastic action. We don't know what's going through the minds of the people downtown right now. Our crews are trying to talk with them about why they're breaking out windows. Adore, what are you seeing? What do you know?
All right, so we have been on South Elm Street, sort of like locked into a hexagon that was formed just closer up to the train tracks that met at the crossroad with South Elm and MLK. But since about an hour ago now, the police line that I was standing behind, that I've been standing behind throughout, has pushed up and gained more ground and moved ahead towards Lewis Street. Now I told you while we were on that side, that we're hearing the noise that was happening of glass being broken. This is what those protesters were doing here. You can see here, this business has lost its front glass, and there was some looting that happened in there, over there. So, and also here, the front entrance here, the downtown Greensboro Inc., we can see the glass has been broken, and this is what is happening here. This is what, you know, has been revealed as we kind of gained ground and cleared. Now we're up closer to South Elm and West Lewis Street. And that is where these protesters have returned now to meet up with that police line that was up against. And this is, some new protesters have joined this group. This is different from the group that was earlier locked in here. Some new individuals have joined them. And these were the guys that were up ahead, that were smashing the windows. They sort of joined this group here, and they're a little louder than the other group, a little impassioned here as they're speaking at the police officers here. You can see the police officers here still with that line pushing up against them. They're saying not engaging. I did hear one of the ladies telling the protesters, do not engage, do not engage. And that was one of the ones who had been emphasizing that they're here peacefully protesting. That was before we pushed up and saw all that was revealed here from that noise that was happening. Some of the protesters have dispersed up onto West Lewis Street. Again, the reason why they're here, you can see they're putting their hands up, saying hands up, don't shoot, sort of bringing it back to why all of this is happening. The police brutality, the shootings, the targeting of African American communities. Some of them say that this is unfair and that they themselves, this could happen to any one of them. What has happened in those different communities could happen to any one of them, and they're enraged, they're impassioned, and that's them. They're speaking now, putting their hands up as the police line is formed here, you know, sort of demonstrating their anger at the situation and their passion about how they feel about what is happening. Right now, another group, like I said, this group has suddenly grown since that other group dispersed. We have more protesters who have come up here to meet up with this line. Again, like I said, different groups in this event that is happening in downtown Greensboro. There's another group that is on the northbound side of Elm Street that is engaging the sheriff deputies there. They haven't moved from their position, but to their left, there's another group, of course. That group is also engaging the officers on that side. And it's sort of like spreading throughout the downtown area. This group, again, like I said, they keep growing, they dissipate, and then they grow, they dissipate, and then they grow. Now they've grown again. Some protesters have come back here. Again, they're chanting the different chants that they've been chanting. I can't breathe, no justice, no peace. Basically making their demands, expressing themselves and making their demands of what they expect from the police and its interaction with the community. Again, the crowd is growing, the protesters growing. We've been standing here. Some of them coming back after moving and dissipating, and they're making their way back here to confront the police officers. And, a lot of profanity going here. I must apologize for that, but there is a lot of that profanity going on here. You do have some people who have been peaceful throughout, holding their signs. But like I said, some businesses have lost their storefront windows, and some looting has happened. And we do see some of the business owners cleaning out some of the shard glass there. And we have more officers moving in tactical gear, moving up towards the line here as they're walking up against. And again, I keep hearing that banging now, that banging on that other side. Either they're banging on vehicle or they're banging up against the business windows. Until we clear this line and the officers move against it, I'm not going to be able to see that. Once they move up and we're able to see, that will reveal what is happening on that side, on the other side of the security line over here. So again, we're going to show you again the protesters moving up against the, facing off against the police officers right there. And we'll just let you see that what is happening over there. And as more protesters moving in towards there, engaging the officers in speaking at the officers, having conversations there amongst each other, and the officers there taking position, mounting sentry right there in front of the line of the protesters. Again, a tear gas canister had been deployed here. You can still smell it in the air. It's really thick in the air here, and you can see some of the officers being affected by that. One of them coughing profusely, coming out of the street over here. Again, things have kind of calmed down right now. Passion still flared up, but things calmed down right now, different from moments ago when the tear gas was put up here and rocks were being thrown and people sort of like scattered in different directions. So again, we're going to watch this situation, see some motion going on behind that security line. You can see the commander there saying something to some of his officers here. Some of the protesters, again, putting their hands up, don't shoot. That one lady who's sort of like the leader, the spokesperson of the group, leading the chants here and sort of giving directions as well. I did hear her say, do not engage, do not engage. It seems that is their tactic here with this front line of protesters. Do not engage the officers, but right behind that line, you have another group of protesters who are breaking things and vandalizing businesses here. Again, identified some businesses that had been vandalized. The Downtown Greensboro Inc., the theater here on the 500 block of Elm Street, another business, I believe that was a music business, a bar, as well as a Dudley Beauty Supply, the Dudley Beauty Salon in downtown Greensboro also vandalized. So again, like I said, this is a fluid situation. We're going to stay here and keep watching and monitoring this group. This looks like where a lot of activity is happening as this group is blending in with that other group that has vandalized businesses here on this side. So we're going to stay with this group. For now, we'll take it right back to you guys in the studio.
Adori, thank you for all your hard work out there. I want to point out that these crews started early this morning and walked all over downtown. It is important to know, if you're just joining us, that what you are seeing, what you're probably hearing from your friends is that there's a riot going on in Greensboro. Check it out on Facebook, and that's why you're tuning into this Facebook Live now. This has not been the case all day. Most of the day, a vast majority of it was very peaceful. In fact, we actually saw video of the demonstrators laughing with the police officers who were there to protect them and keep them safe. What happened is late tonight, there was a rush of new people who came in, according to our crews on the ground and people who are reporting on social media that they're seeing new faces. And those people have changed the tone. Since then, we have seen rocks thrown, we have seen water bottles thrown, we have seen windows busted out, cars jumped on, windshields broken, cars trying to make it through the crowd and hitting people. Police are trying to control the situation. They say, according to city leaders, that they are working on a plan, that they have been on calls most of the night about what to do. So at the same time that we have this current situation going on, I've been looking on social media. There are people who are planning protest again tomorrow. There's another one again Monday. People are asking, how many days are we going to protest in a row because I need to take off work? This is what we're seeing, that this is not a one and done situation. Just like the fact that we have seen so many of these shootings, some of these demonstrators are saying they need to be there in repetition to get the point across. We do know right now that police are trying to move the protest from one side of the downtown over towards the LeBauer Park area to try to keep things contained and peaceful for people who want to stay and have their voice heard. We have seen fireworks shot off. We have seen fights break out. And we have seen people yelling at each other and tensions rising. But we do know that there are still people out there who are standing right in front of those officers who are calm, who are trying to still talk with the officers about why this matters. So, if you're just joining us, know the big message is that this has been peaceful for much of the day. It's just now changing. We don't know where it's going to go yet, but we will have crews there to make sure that you know the latest information. And I know that we've got some videos in that we are trying to get up for you right now. One is a picture from above. I hope we can get that soon because it's pretty interesting to see how many people are in downtown right now. You know, we had our drone up earlier today and it was just 100, 200 people. Now that crowd has grown. Some are starting to go home, but more are coming in right now. What do you want to know about the protest? Leave a comment for me, let me know, because I would love to try to find those answers for you. We have a whole team of journalists in the field and in the studio trying to make calls. I want to actually check my text message because I just got a message from one of the city leaders who said, yeah, she said what we're all thinking. Sharon Hightower, city council member, text, this is tough. No matter where you stand on the issues, tonight is tough to take, it's tough to stomach, and it is going to be something that leaves us discussing this for a long time. So what do you think about this? Now is the time for you to start telling us, has this changed your mind? Has this something that makes you more impassioned, something that has put you off? What do you think? Leave it in the comments. I would love to hear what you are saying. We have people who say, like Robert, people have a right to protest, but don't cause damages to buildings. Lakeisha says this is getting out of hand. Holly, people literally destroyed a place of honor for civil rights. Why? So let's go back to that for a moment because this has been a big point of contention tonight. We do know that at the International Civil Rights Center, there is a window that has been busted out. It is boarded up now. There's caution tape in front of it. We don't know how it got broken. We don't know who broke it. We do know that there was a group of demonstrators who were sitting out front who said, this wasn't us. We also know online there's people who are saying, hey, maybe someone from out of town's coming to make us look bad. We don't know. That's speculation. What we know is that the window is broken out and that we are going to work tomorrow to try to find out who did it. See if there's any security camera footage in the area because that is one of the big questions now. Also, what is going on the ground? We have a whole team out there. Even if we can just get someone's picture up for a minute, I'd love to be able to show them. Let's see if the people in our control room can make that happen for us. We are being told that there's a picture that is coming. They are trying to get to a safe location right now for you to be able to see it. So, you are putting in more of your comments. Hannah said, violence is not the answer. This world needs Jesus. We have Jerome who says, I messed up with that, thinking they smashed the civil rights window is going to help anything. We also have Wally who says, it's easy. Start treating people fair or walk in fear. What do you think about all this? What kind of impact will it have on Greensboro? You know, it is not the first time we have seen civil unrest. We're famous for it. In the past, it's made big changes. Can it do it again? That is the question tonight that a whole lot of people want to know. And before you start making your opinions, I really have to stress here that for most of the day, this was a very peaceful protest. They had permits for where they were going. And then When I-40 shut down around 6 o'clock, things started changing. Since then, you have watched live unfold. You can go back later and see this whole live stream. But right now, we're going to get to Adore with what's happening at the moment.
All right, so again, right here, we still have this line with the protesters engaging and speaking and yelling at the police officers, some of them expressing themselves here. But here's what's happening right behind me. I have some officers here flashing their lights up into the roof. It appears there are some protesters or some movement that is happening at the rooftop there, here on the 500 block of Elm Street, just near West Lewis Street, near Lewis Street crossing. You can see it appears some protesters or somebody has got the attention of the police officers, and they are pointing to try to find what is happening over there. Again, we're still here on Elm Street, where this is really the center of what has happened this evening. This is the group that is remaining. We're too far away to see the other group on the other side that's closer to the north side of Elm Street. Looks like all the protesters have sort of like converged over here, and you can see that's why this crowd has grown from the last time that you saw me. The protesters, some of them have dispersed, but this group looks like is the last remaining group of the protesters that I can see from my vantage point here, as we see some more officers making their way from that end, coming down this way. You can see some officers there in tactical gear moving down here to come and meet up with this group. Again, there's glass rocks on the street as they're walking past, and you can see them coming up to meet them there. That's the officer there with the tear gas dispenser there. Again, this is very, very tense situation happening right here. You can see as those officers approach, the passions flared up again once more. Just sort of see the confrontation going on here. The protesters with their hands raised. Again, initially this was a peaceful protest. The protesters marching up from Elm Street, some of them sitting on the road, some of them locking arms. But within an hour, 2 hours ago, I should say, we did see this situation deteriorate, and we had people throwing rocks. The police had to dispense that tear gas canister. We had a couple of businesses that lost their storefront. That was what we were hearing, that banging and that smashing that was going on. And of course, as the police officers gained the ground here and we were standing behind them and walking up behind them, we're revealing the businesses and seeing the destruction that had happened and what we were hearing. And here we have, they have stopped here at the intersection with Lewis Street and positioned up in front of those protesters. The line that was formed, that they have kept that line rather against the protesters. Initially it thinned out as the protesters dispersed, and some of them went on to carry out the destruction that I talked about. But they have gathered back again as the protesters have come right here. There's more of them, in front of the police officers here. And of course, some of the officers on the other end, from the northbound side of Elm Street, walking up this way to meet this group. It appears, again, I cannot see from where I'm standing, but it appears that group on the other side has thinned out, and those officers are now coming closer to where we are on Lewis Street here in downtown Greensboro. Again, like we've mentioned earlier, some businesses, some notable businesses, organizations who have been vandalized. The International Civil Rights Center and the Dudley Cosmetology School have also lost their storefront window, as I was told, and then downtown Greensboro Inc. as well, from where we are, where we can see. And of course, further down there, we haven't been able to get to that side because, again, we are following this line of security here with the police officers. And if they do push further down on the south side of Elm Street, as they're looking like they're getting ready to do, that is going to reveal what has happened on that side of the street. As I told you, I could hear that banging and the glass smashing as well. And that tells me what exactly is happening on that side. We have some vandalism going on. But again, right now, we just have the protesters engaging the officers, yelling at them, expressing themselves. Again, the reason that this is happening, these, the protesting police brutality, like you said, Ben, in the past, they've been kneeling and protesting, and they were told that's not okay. So they're going to the streets, and that's what they're saying. What do you want us to do? So this is their form of protesting, but the officers, again, here, not engaging. The protester, the chief protester here, telling the protesters, do not engage. Now they're chanting, no justice, no peace. I can't breathe was one of the ones that they were chanting. Last words from George Floyd, who really, his death has sparked this protest. We saw that viral video of the officer kneeling on him that really flared passions, and George Floyd died from that incident, and that's what these people have poured out into the streets to protest, to demand justice, and to say that they want the injustice to stop. They want the police to stop targeting minority communities. They want fairness in the justice system as well. Again, police, again, there's been no engagement here right now since I've been here following this line of security. But we do see, like I told you, this group, a different group of people have joined this set of protesters that I was with earlier. These people I recognize just some of the people up front, but there's another group of protesters here, a little more impassioned, who have joined this group. Again, like I said, they're coming from all directions. We did have a hexagon of protesters form around us, but now we're down to this line here as more officers are pushing up against here, coming from the northbound side of Elm Street, coming down towards the south side here, meeting West Lewis Street. Again, we're going to stay with this group and keep telling you what's going on as we observe and follow here in downtown Greensboro.
If we can just stay on her picture for a little bit, I want people to keep seeing what's going on there. As I read off some new information, we are just getting in here. We've got another statement from a Greensboro City Council member, Mary Kay Abudazard. It says, "This has been a tragic week with the horrific death of George Floyd. I commend those who have been peacefully protesting all day. I am saddened, though, that within the last hour or so, some have decided to break into businesses on South Elm Street. Many of these are small, minority-owned businesses that have been struggling during COVID and are now facing broken windows and lost inventory." That is one thing we want to point out here, is a lot of these businesses just reopened last week in phase 2. They had been closed for a long time, not making money. Now they're going to have to be closed longer as they do repairs. We also know from GPD tonight that they do not have information at this time of where the protesters are from. They are going to try to stay on top of that and let us know. We also will keep asking follow-up questions, and at this point they are still investigating what happened at that Civil Rights Center in the window that was broken, that protesters say they didn't do. I will say also, just from being out in the middle of these and some other protests, sometimes the windows are not broken intentionally. Sometimes the protesters don't even realize they did it, or the police don't even realize they did it, because it's from those flying rocks, the flying tear gas pellets, all of that stuff. So we won't know until this all washes out and we see maybe some security footage what exactly happened there. I do want to tell you too, on social media right now, there are people who are saying, hey, if you get arrested tonight, I got you, we'll pay your bail. They're saying that money has been raised in case people get arrested. We don't know if that's an indication of where things are going or how it's going to turn out. What we do know is that we will stay here with you until this is over, because it is an important story in our community. It is something that will have us talking for weeks. You at home are weighing in too. We've been asking for your comments. A lot of you have been sharing them. I would like to ask one personal favor though. Please try to stay kind to each other. I know we have really strong opinions here, but if we're ever going to understand each other and realize where we're coming from, we have to do it in a civil manner, in a way that's not going to immediately make the other person turn off where they don't want to listen to you. From that note, we do know right now more protesters New protesters have come to downtown from our crews. That's what they're seeing. We also know that at certain points tonight, water bottles were thrown, rocks were thrown, that cars were driven through the crowd. Not only that one, there's another video on Twitter of another car that raced through that crowd too. It didn't hit anyone, luckily, in that case. We know that this is an ongoing situation, so what do you want to know? We have our crews on the ground. One of the questions that someone asked is, why are they out there damaging stuff? Well, I think you heard Adore talk about it. Some of the protesters told us, look, we tried to be civil. We tried to get our message across, and this still happened. Maybe this will change things. Again, it's not advocating violence. We're just telling you what we're being told by the people on the street. I want to show you this picture from above. Sometimes we need to step back and look at the wider picture. This is our city tonight, full of lights, full of sounds that we're not used to seeing in downtown Greensboro. We are not used to police barricading the streets and pushing people from one side to the other. We are not used to seeing people run scared or fights. But it's an image we will not forget. I can guarantee you that. Do we have any crews still out there who are able to talk right now? I know that they have been going through so much, but we really are craving those live pictures from them because it is an evolving situation. They're trying to reach out to some right now. I want to tell you one of the most moving things I've heard from our reporters today. Jess Winters talked about how early on in the day, when things were still really peaceful, there was a group who gathered and they had a moment where they paused in silence for 9 minutes. That is the same amount of time that officer had his knee on the man who died. 9 minutes of silence. And she did this thing that I thought was really impactful. So let's do it again here in case you missed it earlier. We're going to go 9 seconds with silence just so you can see what that's like. Feels long, doesn't it? Now imagine 9 minutes with other officers looking on, and it's still happening. That is why the demonstrators say they're out there tonight. They don't want that to happen again. Moments like that have actually swayed some of the city council members I've been talking with. They said that part of the demonstration made them feel absolutely like they need to keep continuing the dialogue between police and people in the city. We know that the new police chief, Brian James, actually had meetings all across Greensboro asking for public input about what needs to change. We were there at a lot of them. You can go to our website and you can see them. Better yet, you can still email the chief and tell him what you think needs to change. They want you to know that they value your thoughts. So we're going to be checking in with him over the next couple of weeks, I'm sure, to see what he's done to help change some of your thoughts, because now more than ever, it is important to make sure that is happening. I'm going to take a look at some of your comments here. I see that a lot of people are saying they just can't believe this is happening in their hometown, that people need to go to rest, they need to run, that they are worried for people who are in the area. It is clear this is a lot to take in. If you're having trouble processing it, I want you to know you are not alone. All of us, even those in the field, me, right here. It's tough to understand. It is tough to look at everyone's viewpoint and take it in. But the only way we're going to be able to do that successfully is by talking and having dialogue. And that is why it is so important for, if you have an idea of how to fix things, please leave a comment about that too. I would love to hear it. I will personally do a follow-up story to try to make it happen and see what we can do. Let's take a look at some of the pictures of the day because, oh, there have been so many. We just need to sit in silence for a second and look, and then I'll tell you what you're looking at. This right here, this is I-40. Those are demonstrators walking in the street. When was the last time you saw I-40 without any traffic like that? It is a sight to remember, and that is what the demonstrators wanted today. So they started off at the top of that bridge, and they were marching under their permit that they had. And then at one point, they actually walked down the on-ramp and onto there, and they sat down and they kneeled silently. And police happily closed off I-40 for them because they didn't want them to get hurt. They wanted to make sure that people were safe. And it was only about 20 minutes that people had to wait, but it was a big deal. And I will tell you, online it's being shared as a big deal. This is the courthouse from around 8:30 or 9 o'clock, I think, tonight. This is where that 9 minutes of silence happened that I was talking about, where they demonstrated. One thing I want to point out from this part of the demonstration, and actually all of the day, is that there's not one demographic of person who's here. There's all races, all genders, all ages. We also know there's all socioeconomic levels. This is an issue that impacts our whole community, and it's something that we need to come up with a solution for together. Can we see another video if we have them? We're going to take a look at Greensboro from above. This is the one that I'm going to remember. The lights, the sounds. It has been a day that definitely will go down in our history books. Just like that famous protest at the sit-in at the Woolworth's lunch counter. Will it have the same impact, though? That's up to us to decide what happens next. What we know is that this is still ongoing. We are not out of the woods yet. We have our crews who are giving a little break right now out in the field to catch their breath, to make sure they're safe, to have some water, to be able to get new information for you. We're going to get to them in a minute because last we heard there were new protesters showing up. I also am checking social media right now, and we're getting information in from city leaders. We're getting information in from all kinds of people about what is happening. If you were down there and you knew something that happened, you had a first-hand account, please let me know. I would love to know what you think. Also, let's get you caught up on how this day started. Around noon, a group of protesters met in front of the Civil Rights Center. They marched a couple miles around town. They did that all under the permit of police, with police doing it right next to them to make sure they stayed safe. We saw video of police and the demonstrators laughing together and joking and sharing camaraderie. And that's what this was about, to try to build that dialogue between the two. Then things started changing, and now we're at the present moment where Adore Achumba is live.
All right, so we are still here on the south end of Elm Street where it meets Lewis Street. We have been at this position with the security line of officers here for the last hour or two as the protesters are now standing toe-to-toe, face-to-face with the officers here. This group of protesters now growing as we have seen the other end of the protest circle or hexagon, so to speak, as that has dissipated and the protesters have converged to this end where there are more protesters gathering up here on South Elm and Lewis Street. Lots of emotion, lots of tension, lots of flaring up as the protesters are speaking and yelling at the police officers, some of them expressing their anger and their passion and stating why they are out here doing this and why they are out here protesting. In the last hour, like I said, we have seen different types of protests going on here. We've seen the peaceful folks locking arms, sitting down on the road, raising their hands up, putting the fist up. Sometimes we had some people with their placards. And then we've seen a different side of the protest, some vandalism, business windows shattered here. We can see some of those people over here cleaning up and sweeping up the broken glass from their business. Another business right next to them, the downtown Greensboro Inn, also had a window busted out there. And then we're told the Dudley Cosmetology School also had their windows broken into, and several other businesses. Again, we are not going behind or beyond this police security line to that other side. We know that some businesses behind the protesters, the line of protesters, was also damaged. Some stuff has, some businesses and vehicles on that side as well, to my knowledge, because we kept hearing that banging sound occasionally. And we do know from what we saw once it was revealed over here, the businesses being targeted, having their storefront broken in. Again, these protesters, different protesters blending and converging here. We had some tear gas, actually 2 canisters that I witnessed dispersed and created some chaos here. And we also have the officers that were affected by the weft of that the gas coming and affecting some of them, and they were coughing profusely, as we saw. And also here, some of the officers who have been here all night taking a break from their line here. They were relieved earlier on, some of them taking a break. And we're going back to the protesters. You can hear the shouting is kind of intensified a little bit more here as the protesters are still talking and yelling. Again, you can see their signs there, that one sign that says, "I can't breathe, Black Lives Matters." And then you have another sign, that has a list of names of all those people who have been killed at the hands of police officers. Those protesters are saying that the manner in which they were killed is unjust, and they want fairness and justice and equity. And that is why these protesters are out here. Again, this group, though they have been a little impassioned and loud, this group has been peaceful. But we do have that line of other protesters that came up from behind them that had gone ahead and vandalized businesses and property. And I believe those are some of the protesters who have come back and joined this group over here and sort of like swell the ranks of this group as the police officers are still standing here. Again, forgive me for taking off my mask. It is hard to breathe under these conditions because you have the tear gas is still in the air, and just to get some air to clear that out. Again, we're live in downtown Greensboro here on Elm Street and Lewis Street here. This is really where the protest this evening has converged, as we see some of the officers now coming forward to meet us here, some of them moving closer. I do see the sheriff deputies from Guilford County. They have moved their line up further this way to come and meet up with this group of protesters here. Again, we're going to end our Facebook Live here shortly, but we are going to stay here on the scene and bring you updates as we get them and keep you posted on what else is happening. We're going to monitor the situation again. Tension still flared up. We're not going to leave this scene. A lot of stuff going on here. So we're going to stay here for you guys and bring you any details of what happens as we are out here in downtown Greensboro. Reporting live, Adoria Chumba, WFMY News 2.
Adori is exactly right. Some people are going from the protest, some new people are coming. We will be right here through it all. We're going to end Facebook Live for right now, but if something big happens, some big change, you can bet we'll be right back here to let you know about it. Please stay safe, think about what this all means, and think about how we move forward together. Thank you.